I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, 7 p.m. here at the Star City Hall Council Chambers. Can you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, thank you. And tonight's invocation is by John Miller with the Harvest Church. Sir, they come up to the podium. Is the light on? The mic on, Ryan? Okay, thank you.
Join me in prayer, please. Father God, we are so honored to live in this great nation that we live in. And Lord, thank you for the freedom that we have to govern our own cities. And Lord, I thank you for these leaders that are before us who put their time and effort in to do that. So Lord, tonight into the meeting, I pray for wisdom within this room with the audience, as well as the leaders, and for unity. And Lord, we pray your Holy Spirit come and join us tonight and give us wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. All right, roll call.
Here.
Wheelock.
Here.
Solomon. Here. Nielsen.
Present.
Okay, we're all present and accounted for. The first thing on the agenda is the Star Road Report. If you want to see that, you just go online, click on that road report. You want to pull it up, Sean, real quick. Go up, go down, or just click on that little arrow, but that's all right. So this right here shows you the different projects from ACHD, ITD, and Highway District 4 that are happening in the next several years in the city of Star. So you could go look at those. And I just want to tell everybody, we did get the Highway 44 project officially put back on the books through the Downtown Star. And they are going to bid that out here in August with starting it this fall. So sooner than later, which is thank goodness. And the whole goal is to have it completed at the same time as the overpass is done for 16 and 44. So amen to that. Yeah. All right, we'll move on to item 5, the consent agenda.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
I move, I think this is, move to approve the consent agenda consisting of 5A, approval of claims, and 5B, Toscano Estates subdivision, annexation and zoning development agreement, and preliminary plat. But I do have 2 changes.
Okay.
On the first page of the findings, the first paragraph, the date needs to be changed to 2026. And then under section B, the neighborhood meeting, I believe that date is incorrect. It should say 25. And then also in my motion, I included a condition of a minimum of a 7-foot sidewalk. And I didn't see that in the condition, so I'd like that included. And
Okay.
that is my motion.
All right,
you.
we have a motion with the amendments. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Solomon with those amendments and a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item 6, the public hearings that we have tonight. I just need to let everybody know, if you're here for that Hippo Veterinarian Group conditional use permit, that one's actually going to be tabled indefinitely. We're going to not table till August 18th. I'm going to have them repost it because we're not exactly sure when they're going to be ready to bring it into us, just so you're aware on that. Okay. So when we get to that point, I just want to let everybody know that if you're here for that, and that was your jam for the night, you don't have to stay if you don't want, right? It's not going to happen. All right, we're going to move on to 6A, the Moyle Junction Annexation and Zoning Development Agreement and Conditional Use Permit. I'm just going to talk about what that land use hearing process looks like real quick. You have to sign up on the sheets in the back as you came in order to speak at the public hearing. I will open the public hearing and I'll ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding the project. Our city staff will present the application, and the applicant has up to 20 minutes to present their project. The council can ask the staff and applicant, the council can ask staff and applicant questions during that time frame or after. Then we'll do public testimony for those for it, against it, or neutral that wish to speak. You can sign, even if you don't want to speak, it's a good idea to sign up on the sheets and just say no. on what direction you're in favor of. That way you're part of the record on there. There will be a rebuttal time for the applicant of 10 minutes, and the council will ask the applicant and staff additional questions. I'll close the public hearing. The council is going to deliberate, and then the motion is going to be made to either approve of conditions, deny, or table the application to a date certain in the future. And the only person that can speak is the person at the podium, and all the stuff has to be directed up here to the council. I can't turn around and talk to the crowd, because it's got to come this direction, just so everybody's aware of that. All right, with that said, it is 7:05. I'm going to open the public hearing for the Moyle Junction project and ask the city council if there's any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project.
None.
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 I guess, I'm assuming none. Okay,
Yeah,
None.
none.
all right. With that said, Sean, do you want to present the project?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and Council, what you have before you this evening is your first public hearing, which is the Moyle Junction annexation and zoning. The applicant is requesting approval of an annexation and zoning of property located in the county to a zoning designation of general commercial, which is C2, with a development agreement and a conditional use permit for a shopping/commercial center. Property is located on the north side of West State Street between North Plummer Road and North Moyle Avenue. Property being annexed is a total of 77.43 acres with a development area containing approximately 15 acres along the frontage of State Street, and the remaining property to remain in the original owner's possession upon an administrative land split once the property is annexed. The conditional use permit is included for the commercial center, with the applicant also requesting approval of additional uses within the C2 zone. The application has been reviewed for compliance and requirements, including agency transmitting, legal noticing, site posting, all in compliance with the Unified Development Code. Staff has also reviewed the application for compliance with the other portions of the Unified Development Code and the City Comprehensive Plan. The Comprehensive Plan future land use map designates this property as commercial. You do have a late exhibit in front of you, which is a Star Fire District review letter, which I also emailed to you earlier today. Items for special consideration this evening include the future land uses for the property, designation of the remaining property as either a residential R1 or rural residential RR to meet the comprehensive plan future land use map. And then discussion on ACHD and ITD improvements and transportation requirements. Staff is recommending approval of the application with conditions of approval outlined in the staff report. Those conditions will be adopted as part of the development agreement that will come back to you at a later date. This is the survey of the entire 77-acre property that is being requested for annexation. This is the lower piece that the development and conditional use permit will be looked at this evening. Then this is a breakdown of the two zones. That's all.
Is that it? All right, any questions of Sean at this time? Oh, and I forgot to mention, everybody, that clock right there is actually the timer to give you your time, the 20 minutes and then the 3 minutes for the public testimony up there. So,
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
just curious, is staff recommending that we annex the entire 77 some odd acres now? Or just the commercial portion and leave the northern portion for a later time?
Yeah, because the property is one parcel, staff is recommending the annexation of the entire 77 acres. But in order to meet the intent of the comprehensive plan, you'd be looking at the south piece being the C2 zone, and then the northern remainder to be either R1 residential or rural residential, depending on what the applicant would prefer.
Okay, and so we'll need to condition any approval if that comes to
Correct.
for that R1 or RR.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions of Sean?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
So sometimes we have a traffic input or impact study done, but at annexation, at the hearing. And so I'm curious, and I think the administrator can waive this requirement. And so, curious,
Are we going to get one?
are we going to get one?
We will get one
Do you
eventually.
waive it?
We will get one eventually. And the recommendation of staff is that you include a requirement that the applicant meet all requirements of ITD and ACHD when they come back to do their land divisions. And then also, once we get uses approved and reviewed, that we should have all those in place. But ACHD is being very slow in this review, and ITD, we've been working with them because on the widening of state streets. We have a better idea of what IT is going to require, but ACHD has yet to give us any review.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions of staff?
Yes, Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
So on the common drive aisle, is staff recommending that we would have sidewalks on both sides of that?
That is the recommendation of staff.
Okay. Any further questions of staff? That was fantastic. All right. Ryan, are you presenting? Okay, we'll have Ryan come up. State your name and address, please, sir, for the record. Ryan will set that clock there for 20 minutes, and then the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Ryan Cutler. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Allquist Development. My address is 114 South Silverstone Way in Meridian, Idaho, 83642. Official countdown started. Great questions to start out. I'll get to those as part of my presentation to help answer those questions. Thank you for having us this evening. What a beautiful night in Star. A little warm out there, but we're happy to be here today in Star. Can I start out by, Mr. Mayor, thanking you for the great staff that you have. They're awesome to work with. Sharon and Barbara and the Ryans. I know you know this, but I work with every single jurisdiction in this valley, and they're really good. So thank you for what they do to help us get through these challenging projects. My team at Allquist has really been waiting for the right opportunity to develop something in the city of Star, and it hasn't really been there just yet until now. And we are really excited at the opportunity to make a lasting impact in this city on a piece of property that I know everybody in this room knows about and knows where it is. We really are excited for this, and we think it's a win-win for all parties involved, us as a developer, but also you as a city, for an opportunity to make changes in a really important gateway location in your city. As discussed by staff, there are 3 items that we're looking at this evening. That's the annexation and zoning, annexation of the parcel, the zoning, which will include a development agreement and some conditional uses added to the property as a part of any approval that you might give us this evening. And then also just wanted to say thanks again to staff for their vote of approval as they went through and verified our application, not only the planning staff, but engineering and fire and all of those that are involved in this process. They did a really great job on that. Just to recap, you see me up there, but we also have with me this evening Justin Ferdine, who is the general counsel for our office, and then also I believe online somewhere, Michael O'Reilly, who is our design engineer for the site, is also on and will likely testify or answer any questions that you might have on the technical aspects of the engineering side of this project. Another big congratulations. I know Mayor already talked about this, but big wins for the city of Star as far as Highway 16 goes. And then I know the mayor's been putting in the miles and putting in the time to make sure that the improvements for 44 all the way into Star Road happen. That's a huge deal. And to take on ITD like that, I commend you, Mayor, for your willingness to do that, because I know that you're grateful to be a part of the city of Star, and that's an important thing for the city of Star. So that's really, really exciting news. We were excited to hear that as a potential developer in the area as well, because that is also a benefit to this project that we're talking about this evening. Not only will that have an incredible impact on the overall, as you can see on this map that I'm showing here, the overall transportation in the area, but also finding out the timing of that highway project hopefully being completed at the same time as that off-ramp is really crucial. I know you've all seen this before, but it's going to have tremendous impact on the flow of traffic from the north and south, which I know will also alleviate some of the stress and pains that you might be feeling in the city of Star for people that are using that as a cut-through route to get to other roadways. The anticipation is that there'll be improvement there. Now, does that bring other traffic to the city? It does, but we can also look at that as a positive thing for the tremendous growth in this great city that's been taking place. There's one, as you come from east to west, there's one major improvement that's missing on this roadway. I know you all know where you are when you see this picture right here. And it's been like this for years and years and years. And we're excited tonight to be a part of the team that's going to transform that not only into a development that can be utilized and help this great city, but to become a place that people want to be at and enjoy. And not only that, but when you look at this, we're excited to make sure that the eastern entrance into the city of Star is something that the city can be proud of. Everybody that comes off of Highway 16 or comes down Highway 44 is going to drive right past this as the eastern entrance to the city. We want to make sure that it is something that not only us as the development team, but the city of Star can be proud of as someone comes into this great city. I won't go over this too much again, but annexation into the city of Star is what we're trying to achieve this evening. And as one of the questions was asked, I believe it was by Councilman Nielsen over here and answered by Sean, yes, we are going to annex the entire parcel, the entire acreage into the city, and then by division, break down the portion that we will be utilizing for the commercial development. We will, in the future, myself will be helping represent the balance of that piece of property that will, and we anticipate being in the RR zone. That is our preference as we move forward on that. That is at a later time. We haven't started any of those applications or really had a discussion on it yet, but I do know that's the intent of the property owner that we will be helping them work through. And that is changing our current zoning on the front portion of the property, which is approximately just under 16 acres, is from rural transition to commercial C2. And that is our preference on that front portion of this property. And then finally, the last items that we'll discuss towards the end of my presentation is the conditional use permit that we have in front of us tonight and the development agreement for allowed uses, building height, and any sort of drive-through approval that we may need on these parcels. There's a map we've already seen, but just to emphasize the location and everything in the red box is what we're going to be discussing today from the commercial aspect of this project. As mentioned by staff, this site is perfectly set for a commercial development as already approved by City Council and staff previously as a part of the comprehensive plan. Make sure I've got this right. Is it showing? There we go. We'll call it salmon. The salmon colored area there, which is set aside for commercial, is the area that we're discussing for our commercial development. And then the orange parcel behind it and the remainder balance of our property is the RR designation or rural estate type lots that can be discussed in the future. So commend you for having the foresight and the vision previously to set up your comprehensive plan for this type of development, as this is the most appropriate location for this type of development. Staff also shared this as well. This is a very basic schematic so far of what potential lots and pads could be on this commercial site. Now that could change based on the tenant that comes into the location or a tenant that wants to come into the site. We could tailor those pads to those tenants, to not only help with traffic flow, parking, but also any needs that they might have for their building pad there. This is an initial one that we've laid out, but I want to let you know that although we've had lots and lots of interest at this site already, we have not signed any deals yet in anticipation of approval of land use tonight. And then it will go like gangbusters after that. But to staff's point, if we were able to obtain approval tonight, we will come back and work with individual property tenants that would take on a site here, tailor those pads to their site, and then adjust this site plan by a legal description to make sure that it works with their site. I believe there was also a question while I've got this site plan up. I believe it was you again, Commissioner Nielsen. We are intending to have sidewalks on both sides of that drive aisle in the middle. We recognize the importance of connectivity in this area in any of our developments that we have, but especially in this location, we want to make sure that there's not only vehicular connectivity, but also pedestrians can safely traverse this area and get to the new locations there. While I'm talking about connectivity and landscaping, it's a good transition to my next slide. As you're aware, ITD, as discussed already, is doing some improvements along Highway 44. However, what you may not know is that ITD did not put any sort of pathway connectivity on the north side of this roadway. Everything is on the south side, which is unfortunate. But us as the developer team are committed to put a 10-foot pathway along on the outside of ITD's right-of-way on our parcel to be able to have connectivity along the frontage and connect them to anybody that's to the east or the west of them. That's the right thing to do. We want to make sure that all of this site has connectivity not only internally, but externally so that people can exit the site and get downtown or wherever they need to go. So we are intending to have a pathway along the north side, even though ITD failed to put that into their plans. And then there's that discussion of the internal walkway on the drive aisle, which will be on both sides. And then also from Highway 44 up to the drive aisle in the center of the site on Plummer and Moyle, there will also be pedestrian connectivity on the property to get people from the north and the south to the site. We will and are intending to have a pressurized irrigation system utilizing our water rights out there. And we have been working with the team over at the Middleton Mill Irrigation District on all items pertaining to the drain and the canal out there and any sort of pressurized irrigation. That will include a landscape plan that we will work with staff on to meet all of the requirements of the City of Star and all the code requirements of the City of Star to make sure that there's appropriate buffer between sites, between roadways, and in that drive aisle to make sure that we're meeting code for any sort of landscaping plan. This also includes internal lots. Each individual building that would come to the site will be required to have site landscaping on their parcel that will be included and looked at during zoning compliance and building permit on the site. There was discussion about a traffic impact study, which is a great question. Thank you, Councilwoman. That was a great question. We've been working with, as stated by staff, working with Sean here at the city, working with Kendra Condor over at ITD, working with Mindy Wallace at ACHD as everybody kind of comes into one area at this site. The main reason why there is not a traffic impact study at this point in time is because a traffic impact study would be skewed based on construction. Any counts or numbers that we would take at this point in time would be inaccurate because of the delays the construction is currently having. And that is in agreement with both ACHD and ITD. We have confirmation and email from them saying that there's not going to be any new traffic counts taken at this time because they would be skewed by construction. So what has happened is ACHD let us use previous traffic impact studies that were utilized in the area for volume counts, and then use a 2% growth model on top of that to account for future traffic coming in the area and any traffic that might be generated from our site. We have some preliminary results on that. Our final report is being written right now in our discussion with ACHD for their review. we are happy to comply with the staff condition that states that we need to work with ACHD and ITD on our final outcome of what the improvements need to be. But I will let you know this evening that we've already, from some of these results that came out of our 2% growth model study, if you'll notice on the map right here, our internal drive aisle, when it connects to Plummer on this side of the road here, one of the things needed so there wouldn't be internal queuing and causing issues at any of the signals was to put a right turn and a left turn lane out onto Plummer and one internal straight drive aisle into the site. That way, we don't have queuing and backing into the site here, which then in turn causes queuing and backing out onto the roadway of Plummer and Moyle. We feel really fortunate that both Plummer and Moyle already have signalized intersections, and that has been taken into consideration in our study that we've been talking about. The other improvement that we have indicated here and is coming out of our study is that, as I'm sure everybody in this room is very aware that Plummer has its challenges. And if we add extra traffic to that, it's going to cause more challenges to that. So we are showing here a dedicated right-hand turn lane that would be added to the site as you're going southbound. And as you go northbound into the site, a dedicated right-hand turn lane that pulls traffic out of the way of Plummer, of anybody going into this site, so that those that are going directly to the north can stay heading that direction and not be encumbered by vehicles stopping and trying to get into the site here. All of our results from this traffic impact study so far on Moyle indicate, because it's not a through street at this point in time, the improvements there are sufficient for what is needed for this development. And again, we will continue to work with ITD and ACHD as we get through this construction on what their needs are and what their improvements are. We are working again with ITD. One of the challenges that came up on Highway 44 is when, is when the new plans were designed on Highway 44, ITD's designed those roadway plans to connect directly into the current Plummer roadway and not accommodating for any future growth, which is strange to me. So we are working with them to move that curb line out to the future growth area so that we're not having to go out and tear things out in the future when the improvements come in, because we think that's the right thing to do. We're also working with ACHD and dedicating our half of our roadway there, which is close to 40 feet from center line on our site. So we're not starting our development or our development area until any of ACHD's right-of-way has been acquired by them. And so we are working with them on that. And we will continue to do so as we go through this process. And again, like I said, happy to accommodate that in a condition which is part of the staff report currently. As mentioned by staff earlier, technically the term for this in the C2 zoning is a commercial shopping center. There are some uses that are being considered. Nothing's finalized. What we don't want to do is limit ourselves from going out to be able to find the right type of tenants for this site. So you'll see on this slide I have here on the left side are permitted items. These are items that are listed in the staff report under a conditional use permit that would be needed under C2. What we are asking is that those be added tonight as a part of the development agreement as possible improvements that could be put in that location without conditional use permit and approved by conditional use permit this evening. And some of those are childcare facility, convenience store, gasoline fueling, multiple use buildings, shopping, commercial center. Most everything else that we're looking at currently is allowed and permitted in this site already by the C2 zoning code. These are just a few that we'd like to have added there just to add to the mix if we had a tenant like that would come along. On the flip side of that, on the right-hand side, the prohibited, these are items that we're willing to put into a development agreement that we're going to say that we're not going to do at this site to eliminate those from our consideration to counterbalance some of those that are permitted. You can see those listed on the right-hand side. And again, we're happy to add those into our development agreement as something that's prohibited, and that would have to come in for a development modification in front of this council for one of those items to be allowed on the site.
Currently, there's conditional use, right?
What's that?
Currently, those ones that you're proposing to be
Correct.
prohibited are conditional use.
On the one on the right are conditional use. So we're willing to give those up at this point in time, just to not, and some of those things are things we don't want to do anyways, and you don't really want them there anyways. So we'd like to go ahead and just say, we're happy to give those up because we're not going to go after something like that. But they are allowed by a conditional use now, but we would happily put that in our development agreement as something that's prohibited. One of the other items that we would like to discuss, we are currently, I'll put cat out of the bag a little bit, early discussions with a major medical user in the valley that is very eager to have their services provided in the city of Star. And to provide what is needed with that medical user, if this were to be approved, they are looking at a building that would be 3 stories tall. Currently, within the C2 zone, the height allowance for a building is 35 feet, and the discussion we're having with them is a building that would be more in the 50-foot range. For that reason, we are proposing a variance as a part of this conditional use permit to allow us to go up to 60-foot, which is allowed by code on this site. Again, that's really only one building that we're discussing in one pad. There is no intent for there to be other buildings of this size. I think you saw in our site plan, there's one larger parcel that was in the back of the site plan. If approved, that's the location that we're discussing for this area. So we can tuck that building up against those other storage units back there and not have something that's taller up against the road. So the second item that we'd be asking for is that building height variance to 60 feet. And quickly in my last minute here, as we go out and try to find tenants, I don't want this slide to scare you. I do not think we're going to have drive-throughs on every single one of these pads, but what it does when we limit ourselves by drive-throughs, it allows us to, when we have the flexibility, we can look at the site and see what the best spacing is for something that might have a drive-through to get them separated from other drive-throughs that helps with traffic flow on the site. And so part of our condition tonight would be, we would be asking for the ability for all lots to have the ability to have a conditional use permit. Again, not to have all lots have a conditional use permit for a drive-through, but the ability to make good decisions on how to design the site if any drive-throughs were utilized there. This would still have to go through staff. It would still have to go through the zoning compliance. They would still have to go through a building permit to make sure that it was in compliance with all those things. We're just asking for that approval here and for that approval, final approval, to be able to go through staff at the end of the day instead of coming back here for every single building. And I'll wrap up quickly. The future of Star, these are, don't get locked in on what these uses are. We threw uses in of something that could be, but again, none of these deals are completed. This is just to give a visualization of what the site could look like as you come into the city, or this is actually looking west to east, east to west, to give you a feel of, it's not just a strip mall. It's not just a couple of buildings that we've have slammed in there. It's something that's going to be thoughtfully done with landscaping and connectivity. That was something that we can all be proud of as citizens of Star. And at this point in time, I know my time is up. Before you are the approvals that we're requesting as a part of this application. I'd happily stand for any questions.
Okay. Questions for the applicant? I know I have a couple though for you. You go back to that site plan that had your traffic stuff on. I just want to clarify something real quick.
This one?
Well, go back to the one that you were showing the right in, right out, or
Oh,
the
yeah.
right, those.
Yep.
Yeah, that one. So basically what you're saying, what you're going to be doing, this doesn't work. Down here on the left-hand side off of Plummer to State Street. Yeah, right down in there. There's going to be a right turn lane, then a straight and a left turn lane, right? Or
Mhm.
however they want to configure that. And then you're going to have a single lane coming in that's going to go into a right turn into the development.
Correct.
Are you going to have a right turn like a merge lane that's going on the north side of that at all?
So that's
Right.
part of the discussion. It's a great question, Mr. Mayor. That's part of the discussion we're still having with ACHD. There's plenty of room to do that, an acceleration lane out of that.
Right.
That may come out in the wash as we go through this documentation. It isn't showed on this plan, but it is something that has been strongly considered. We're actually carrying in our number as we go through a performance standpoint, that improvement already, because we anticipate it might go there. It's a great idea. Just not currently showed on this plan, but it's something that is being discussed already with ACHD. One of the things to consider when we went through our traffic impact study, and this probably comes to no surprise to anybody in this room, is when our traffic engineer did the study, Kimberly Horn did it for us. That, the road, before any of our traffic comes from this development, that road is already deficient. So there should have been improvements already made. ACHD does have it in their capital improvements plan, but it is in 2035 to 2040. So it's a ways out there. So we're currently working with them on what the most fair way to go about this is for us to help accommodate an improvement there for the traffic that we'll be bringing to the site, but not completely fixing their deficiency. And that's kind of the discussion we're having right now, whether that comes in us putting our contribution into them as their improvement, whether it's us going out and doing our improvement right now and them in the future coming back and redoing that. That's kind of the final discussion we're having right now. But I do know that their capital improvement on that is 10 years or so out. Maybe this provokes them to move it a little bit forward to help it in that site. But we do know that we need to take care of at least our traffic volume that's happening there. And we want to do right by the community by at least making sure that that intersection functions better than it does right now.
So does that, so that 40-foot right of way that you're providing them
Mhm.
for that, does that make that road segment a minor arterial or a major arterial?
A minor arterial.
A minor arterial?
Residential arterial, I believe is what it's called.
Okay,
Yeah, it's 78-foot right away is what it's called for ACHD. So we're doing our half on our portion, and they'll negotiate with the owners on the other side.
okay. And one more question there, sorry, guys. The, on 44 there coming into Plummer, has ITD even talked about doing a decel lane there? You guys doing that or anything like that?
So, again, they have their plans, they have their approved plans. It's kind of a discussion we continue to have because I agree with you that that should be something that's discussed. I don't know if it was just a lack of foresight of how they did that, but when they designed their plans, they did not put a decel lane in that location there to get people off the road. It just widened the road
Right.
and then had people turn out of a single straight lane to go right there. It is, again, one of those discussions that we're having, but the challenge there is that is an ITD issue, not an us issue, because that location right there, our traffic is not causing the issues that are already at that right turn. They're already existing. It's called in the background. When you do a traffic impact study, the background volumes of traffic are already causing that issue. So we're doing our level best to be helpful, but not have the jurisdictions place all of that load on us just because they can.
Any questions there of Mr. Ryan at this time? Councilwoman Solomon?
Thank you. So regarding the height on the 60-foot, I may have missed it, were you talking about the specific sites that would, or was it the northern ones that you're asking for that waiver for? Or is it just one just one anywhere?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman, it really is just one. So if I can utilize this, I know this is kind of a fictional drawing, but the building that we're discussing, this one right here, is fairly accurate based on height. And it really would only be that structure right there that we're looking at the variance on. Currently, again, right now, the allowed height is 35 feet in a C2 zone, but you can be granted a variance by conditional use permit to go to 60 feet or less.
I want to ask Sean a question though. Is Paul Larson's project across the street 50?
Yes.
We gave him a waiver
Yes.
for that reference for height,
And I think it's actually 54, but
54.
one point of clarification is let's not call it a variance because it's not a variance. It's a height exception because if you look at your code, 60 foot is allowed, but it's allowed through a council
With council
approval of
approval.
the exception. So I don't want to call it a variance because a variance requires findings that there's a hardship. So that's why we put that in the code is to allow you guys the ability to approve that exception if asked.
Yeah, it's a hardship. The building's too short.
All right. Councilwoman, do you have any more? Sorry.
No, thank you for that.
All right.
clarification.
Councilman Nielsen?
Thank you. So Ryan, appreciate your presentation. We've made it a practice, I'll say as of late, maybe the last year and a half or so, to stop doing the blanket drive-through approvals, the blanket conditional use permits, things like that. It just doesn't work out that well. I'm intrigued by your idea of what you've got going on here. What I'd be open to considering, and I'm speaking for myself only, is, if you're looking for that CUP, the permission for a drive-through, is to give give you permission for one drive-through on the entire project on any lot,
Okay.
rather than every lot has the permission to have a drive-through. Does that make sense?
It does.
Are you open to that sort of approach to it?
Are you open to negotiation?
Well, I'm
You're-
open to
you're gonna love-
negotiation in terms of if you want to drive, all the lots would be permitted to have one, but the development agreement would only allow for one
Without coming back. to the
without
council.
coming back to the council to get a permit for the others.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor and Councilman, that makes sense. And we've worked with lots of jurisdictions where this is the case of how it works. We're working with the city of Meridian right now on their tiered program that they're doing with drive-throughs, which for the record is not great. I hope the city of Star stays away from the tier program and just talks about drive-throughs in general. And I agree that under this condition right here, where we have a conditional use permit, it should be permitted for each individual use to come in if it's going to have a drive-through. It's challenging for us. I'm gonna be a little bit selfish here. It's challenging for us when we go out to tenants or have tenants that want to come into the site, and when they figure out that they have to go through an additional use to get a drive-through, they walk away and we lose tenants. Now that's a us problem, not a you problem. So what we're trying to do is find an accommodation or a solution there where we can still utilize staff, make sure that those individual drive-through locations are properly designed, have enough queuing, is not going to affect the drive aisle in any way, which in turn is going to affect the other traffic locations on the site, and give us the ability to go out and appropriately locate different drive-throughs if there are more than one on the site, away from each other to kind of mitigate traffic, so to speak. The challenge then becomes in the time frame between when we go out and find a tenant, come in here and say, okay, we need to go for a conditional use permit. That can take however long it can take, 2-3 months before that can actually happen. And then they leave, and we've lost that opportunity to bring something into the city that could be a benefit to the city or something new to the city that's not there. It's just a challenge. So I agree that maybe the entire site, that maybe that's a stretch there. Would this council be willing to discuss 4 drive-throughs? Again, I don't anticipate that we're going to have 4 drive-throughs, but that gives us the flexibility to be able to space them out in locations if something like that did happen. That would be a request of mine.
You know, as you've stated in the project, or in your presentation, you started out with that picture of what's not there,
Mhm.
right? And because it is a gateway point to the city, I think it's really important what does go in there reflects that.
Sure.
So if I can imagine 4 drive-throughs right along the highway right
Mhm.
there,
Sure.
that's not a gateway to the city, right?
Understood.
I'm opposed to that. I love the fact that you want to put that 10-foot sidewalk along the highway there. I think that gives you some options. You know, I love when I drive into a city, and the cities, especially older towns, buildings are built right up to the sidewalk. Sidewalks are big. There's little, eating areas out in front, lots of walkability. It's really attractive for people to stop in and see what's there. And so my question to you, and it's related to the drive-through, but it's related to the project altogether, is what are you going to do to make this not just be another strip of commercial buildings coming into our city?
Yeah, great question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilman. Maybe just another comment on the drive-through portion. I think when we talk about drive-throughs, all we think about is food. I think we do need to remember as a part of this that drive-throughs can mean so much more than that. For example, in one of the medical users that we're discussing there, a drive-through can be considered for any sort of pharmacy pickup that takes place there. So I want to make sure that we get outside of our mind that it's not always just a burger joint, right? There's lots of items out there that could utilize a drive-through as a part of their establishment and their business. That always doesn't mean that it's, a restaurant. Now, to your point, again, I don't want us to get too fixated on this drawing. It's something that was put out there together from a marketing standpoint. But we do want to make it a place. So for example, as coming into the city from east to west, up on that corner of Moyle and 44, how can we landscape and put appropriate signage that not only announces where they are from a location standpoint, but also that you're in Star, right? And how can we make and beautify that corner so that when you come in, you aren't just hit with the building straight up. So that's sort of the discussion that we'll have with staff during our landscaping coordination, and you can direct staff there to do what you would like to see there, is to make sure that those corners are beautified there. A lot of the things we would also do, to your point, is if there are or were eating establishments, to face them out towards the road so that those patio areas are out facing the roadway that direction. So you're not just looking at buildings and you're seeing more of a place and interaction among people. The landscaping along the frontage there can be increased so that we that not only a buffer from that area, but also makes it feel a little more established and well used there. And then to your point earlier, the connectivity along the frontage to the north and south and on both sides of the road in the middle will attract more walkability in the site that you don't see in areas in Star currently right now. I was driving through some of those locations when I came in today, just to kind of give a feel for some of those areas too. And you don't see a lot of that. You see a lot of, I just drove into a parking lot and now I'm walking through a parking lot.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure it's a
Star,
sense of
here's
place.
parking
Yeah.
lots.
We want to make sure it's a sense of place. Now, can we pull those buildings out towards the front of the road more and have parking areas be behind it? With that connectivity, that's also something we can look at to make sure that you're not just looking at a parking lot when you drive into the site, and have those building pads facing, front facing towards the road. That's certainly something that we can evaluate. What we're going to do with each one of these tenants when they purchase a parcel on this site, they're purchasing a portion of that roadway in the central roadway as well. Their lot line will go to the middle of that roadway, so they will have pride and ownership of what takes place in landscaping and walkway through the middle there, and we can control that as the head of the development. So we want to make sure that we are, first off, picking the right tenants that will do right by the city, make sure that their buildings are appropriately located, and then make sure that with staff, we can accommodate landscaping and signage that is, that makes and beautifies the area of this site.
Yeah, as I look at that and even consider the taller building that you're proposing, a lot of times those bigger buildings are built way better than the smaller ones, and they look better for a lot longer, right? So as you imagine driving into the city, something that looks like Welcome to Star, and a building that's there for 80 years versus one that's there for 20 years, probably looks way better right up against the highway. You're not seeing the parking lots. That's I think the vision that, you're coming to us without much of a vision. It's just, we've got lots and we're looking for people to fill it.
Mhm.
So my purpose here tonight is to help you envision what that needs to look like for Star. And it's not 4 drive-throughs along the front. And it's not just a bunch of parking lots, even if they're well screened by trees. We've got enough of that, I think. So that's, a couple of thoughts, I guess. I'm not really open to the 4, but I'm only one voice on here, so I'd be interested in what other people think.
Okay, Councilman Day.
Mayor Chadwick. Yeah, I don't want to see a bunch of drive-throughs either, right? I don't think anybody here wants to see a bunch of drive-throughs when you come into town. We just had a brand new gas station that's being built across the street. I think there's an opportunity to make this beautiful, to make it user-friendly, not just when you want to get your oil changed, if you want to go shopping. The hospital or the medical building, is that pad 7 on your map?
Currently, yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's really, and sorry to interrupt, Councilman, that's really the only one that's down the road a ways based on location, just because we do need to be considerate of the height of that building and what's going on there. So really, pad 7 is one that's somewhat defined. Again, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. We don't have any approvals. It's hard for us to go out and have everything lined out to your, as you were discussing We don't have an approval yet, so we don't want to get too cart before the horse here. So, but
We can only go
seven.
off of what you're showing us.
Yep, sure.
Right, that's
So
what we have to go
sure.
off of, is what you're bringing
Yep.
to the council, right?
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
So, yeah, I think most of us here on the council and the mayor as well, you know, well, I know myself, you know, I'm looking for like a softer look as you come into town, an inviting look when you come into Star. And so, you know, I agree with Councilman Nielsen is that we don't want to look like fast food row coming into town. I think it needs to be like, you know, a softer look, a more welcoming look. Yeah, I think we have a great opportunity here to do something amazing. I mean, the first house you see on a corner when you come into a subdivision is kind of what sets the tone, right? And if that house is nice and it's well manicured and or it could be the opposite, right? And then you're like, oh, you know, what am I driving into? So I think there's a great opportunity here with what's going on across the street, you know, just a little bit east, you know, looks really nice, that development that's going in there. I think if we could kind of keep up that theme all the way through town, not just here,
Sure.
all the way through town. Just a softer, more friendly look. People are looking for nice places to go shop, not, you know, walkability, you know. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So,
Thank you.
Councilman Wheelock?
So couple things that I just I'm probably halfway between the two of you, not four, not one. I'm looking at two options for a drive-through would make sense to me. As long as staff could make sure that the impact wasn't negative because of the amount of stacking or whatever needs to be taken care of that direction. One of the things I liked was that the variance, is that what we're calling it, Sean?
It's not a variance. I
Height
accept.
exception. Whatever you want to call it. I like that being on the back, not upright in the main drive. I would, as I noticed that north side on pad 8 up to the commercial or the storage units that are there. I would love to see a buffer between those two parcels, a fence of some kind, a privacy, whatever. I know it's Joe's property and he still lives there. And if he's still around, I still think there's some value to separate those two in privacy.
And Mr. Mayor, Councilman, there will be, just to let you know, there will be a fence all along the back of this site. We're in negotiation and discussion with the canal company back there to bury that ditch and pipe it. And then there will be their easement, and within that easement on the back of our property will be a fence.
Right, perfect. It was just not shown in any of the
Yeah,
pictures.
Again, we're still in
One I would-
discussing that, yeah,
If we're gonna discuss it, this is the window,
for sure.
so. Those are my only two current issues that I think I need to highlight. Other than that, I'm happy.
Sorry, let me get my thing back on. Can you go back to your plan that shows the entire 70 acres? Real quick. Okay, on this one here. What's your thoughts about making a road, a future road connection right there where that little strip goes onto the west side of those, or somewhere up there, the connectivity, internal connectivity?
Down the west side of the
Yeah, go to the
storage
side,
units.
other side,
You talking about
right there,
this? That
right
area?
there, that little strip there. That
Right
connects
here?
that back piece, yeah, right in that area somewhere, to make connectivity into whatever happens there in the future into here, so people don't have to come out on the plumber. to get into the site. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, good question. I think the challenging part with that is the irrigation is buried right there. And I do know that there are future plans planned for that site that are in front of you right now that might make that a little more challenging.
On the northern piece?
Correct. That we don't own. So I can't speak to that myself personally. I think it's an interesting thought. Again, right there's a box. Currently, right now, there's a box, one of the major boxes that turns the irrigation to go north, that was intended to maintain and stay there. It would be quite an expense, obviously, to adjust all of that. So there wasn't any intention of.
Does it go right
Right.
along that fence line,
It
basically?
does. Yeah, it goes right along the fence line. Well, it goes along the tree line here and then goes right along the fence line to the north.
To the north? A little
Just
bit
off
to
the
north.
fence to the north there. And that's part of the part that goes up and feeds the pond area there. So there are some challenging things in the way there to do that. And again, the internal drive aisle is why it's called the drive aisle, is because it's going to be a private roadway and not a public roadway, which would be maintained by us. If we did go to the north on that, would have to be maintained a private drive aisle, again, maintained up by us on a site that we don't currently own. I don't know if I can speak to that
How about an
entirely.
agreement that there's not a spite strip that we could put a connectivity of a sidewalk, 10-foot sidewalk going to the north or something, right? I mean, I don't know what's going to go on there, but gives us an opportunity and an idea of being able to make it all connect for people.
I think that there's an opportunity, yes, to put some sort of connectivity from a pedestrian standpoint.
I'm not saying you have to build it right now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
I'm
just
just
provide
thinking-
that easement for it. Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, there still is a private property owner that lives there, so we need to keep that into consideration right there. But there is an opportunity you could put in, I mean, you can't do anything else there on that site, that little strip there, but make it open to the public if that's something that would work. It is definitely something that we would consider.
Okay.
Again, assuming that the property owner to the north would also comply with that.
Okay. Any further questions? Councilman Nielsen?
Yeah, so help me understand that. I mean, we're annexing everything in yellow, or that's being proposed. So what part of that do you not own?
So on Friday, we will close on the 16 acres that are surrounded in red. We will only own that lower portion. The balance of that by lot division will go back to the property owner that exists up there that's not us. So currently, right now, yes, it is one parcel. We are, as our development team, purchasing what's in the red box-ish. It kind of comes down a little bit below those, obviously, those storage units. So we will only own the lower portion of that property and not the portion above it.
Right.
The development agreement that we're creating here today is over the entire 70 acres. That was the first question I asked tonight, right? So anything that we talk about today, you're authorized as a representative on these 77 acres. And if you're not, then we need to divide that and only deal with the part that you are authorized to negotiate on.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, I'll leave that to staff over there. I think.
Let me try
annexation-
to answer that a little bit. I think we're gonna do this as rural residential is the thought by staff on the upper part, because if they come in here and want to develop it into what it says in the comp plan, they'll have to reopen the development agreement and add the stuff to that in the development agreement at that time. So we can annex and we can put everything in that we want, except we shouldn't condition anything on that northern section at all on any of that, except for it's rural residential. And if you want to change that, then you have to bring in the development agreement and reopen it.
But that, sorry, Councilwoman, the DA we're considering tonight is over the entire property. So
Right, but we can think outside the box and say we don't have to condition anything on the upper property except for rural residential. And that in that development agreement, it gets reopened when they come back and ask for a different zone for that up there,
right.
right? And then at that point, when you find out what the plan's going to be for that property is when you're going to put all your conditions in the updated development agreement for it.
So you don't want a condition in there for the pedestrian access.
Well, no, we can put it on his property to provide that cross access
Right.
that they're purchasing to allow for a pedestrian access point. Yeah. And that's in there now, but telling them they have to do anything with that little strip it makes sense if it's not, if they're not going to own it, we can't really condition that for them to do that, anything on that until it comes back later. But if we get the cross access agreement with them on their property, that allows that to happen when it comes back in the future.
Yeah, I follow you. I'm a little stuck on the fact that what we can and can't do when we're considering the whole property right now. So,
And Mr. Mayor, Council, for the record, I mean, there will be a cross-access agreement over the entire site based on the users anyway, so it's not any real addition to us. We're going to have a cross-access easement there anyways. If you want to condition that in the DA, that's fine.
Councilwoman?
Mayor Chadwick.
Yep.
So do you own that lake, that other section? No.
So it's kind of twofold, Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman. Tonight, I'm representing tonight the entire site. I'm also representing us as Allquist Development, who are in the final stages of closing on the property surrounded in red. Based on any approval that might happen tonight, we'll be purchasing that portion down there. So there'll be two different ownership groups for the parcel. Then through a minor land division through the city, we will separate those two parcels.
So the Alquist Acquisitions
Mhm.
owns everything in yellow today.
Owns
right?
nothing in yellow.
Oh, no.
The Moyle family owns the entire product,
Yep.
Oh.
property. He's
Yeah.
represented in the boat, the Alquist and the Moyles right now to annex it in and provide the zoning in the two pieces. And then Sean, as an administrative level, is allowed to do a minor land division on this after you guys decide if you're going to annex it or not. Create that line, in which case they'll purchase that southern section off of that property. And the rest of it will retain with the Moyles until such time that they decide to develop it or sell it or whatever on that, and it'll come back to the city.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
But it would be annexed into the city of Star. Now, and I will tell you this, that's a benefit to the city of Star because we have to police the county portion of this and get no benefit from the county portion of anything that happens over there. So if it comes in the city, at least the Moyles are finally going to pay city taxes. How about that?
I was waiting
There's
for
the
somebody to
motive.
say that.
Mr. Mayor, can I address Councilmember Nielsen's
Yep.
question or concern? He is correct. We are looking at this entire project or this entire property as an annexation, and with that, it would have a development agreement for the entire property. I believe that what the applicant is requesting in his application is that you only look at the southern part as part of the development agreement. But you are correct, Councilmember Nielsen. You could place
it's not a
additional
can or
conditions
can't,
on there.
it's
They're
a
not,
will or
they're
won't.
asking not to do that, but yes, you can because it is one application for annexation with one development agreement for the whole property.
Thank you.
That's correct. And Mr. Mayor, when and if we come back and represent for a residential portion of that on the top, we will at that point in time be reopening the development agreement for residential type conditions in that piece. We're just looking for
Yeah.
commercial type conditions on the southern piece.
And we did something similar on Larson's property with the residential and the commercial side over there in the past. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, and that's one reason staff is recommending the RR as opposed to an R3 because RR is our lowest zone. It also allows the owner the ability to keep farming the property if they so choose until they decide what they want to do with it and they come back and rezone it to a proper density
Correct.
residential.
Okay, Councilwoman?
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any examples of other developments that you've done that are kind of talking or that we could think about that would have more that like walkability, community gathering space feel to help us get an idea, you know, of that versus like right now in my head, you know, you have I don't know, I think it's you, but the one down on 10 Mile and Giant, you know, and I'm sure it's amazing, but it's a lot of pavement. Or, you know, even over off Eagle Road by the village, you have, you know, a lot of pavement businesses over there. So do you have any examples to help me picture something amazing as you come into the city of Star?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman, you're correct. We do have a lot of examples, some that aren't really relevant to this, or downtown Boise type stuff that isn't really relevant. The Grove and the buildings there, which we did, which is not really a good comparison to this. Eagle View Landing, where Topgolf and our building is something that we developed as our own development, which has interconnectivity of pathways. Again, not that I want to stand here at the City of Star and give City of Meridian props, but I'm going to do it for a quick second. They understand what you're talking about. Pulling buildings up to the edge of the property with pathways and landscaping on one side and the parking on the reverse side of that is what a lot of things that we're doing out at 10 Mile. We're doing the district out at 10 Mile, where right along 10 Mile, all of our buildings, which are very similar to what lots would be here, are right up against the road where the pathway is, with the parking lots on the back side of that. And then everything internally is connected by pathways, which are landscaped on either side. And so that's one way that the City of Meridian has done it. It's ways that we kind of think about all of the developments that we do, because we believe that the way that they've proposed that does help walkability. It limits your vision of just parking lots. We know parking lots have to happen, but we want to try to limit those from a visual standpoint as best as we can. And then the real important part is, I think a lot of people forget connectivity to the main roadways. I know this is a state highway, but there still needs to be connectivity to get people to and from. And that's why I think it's very important. And I'm kind of shocked that ITD didn't put something on this north side of this road, just kind of forgot about it. But we're willing to do that to make sure that that connectivity happens. So I would say, I don't know if you're familiar with, that's probably not a good example. It's not very similar to this, but the Eagle View Landing area where Topgolf is, which is a mixture of housing, business, medical, restaurant, all sorts of different things there, does have drive-throughs, doesn't have drive-throughs, is a great example of interconnectivity with pathways and being creative with cross parking and cross coordination to minimize the amount of parking lot space needed and that everybody can park efficiently. So I would say that is a good example. The upcoming 10 Mile project is a great example of things that you can look at and see. Other ones, again, but downtown Boise stuff doesn't really, 14-story buildings doesn't really equate to this. But that's something I would look at there as lessons we've learned and as we've developed and progressed as developers of how to get people to and from and beautify sites, but still utilizing the ground needed to get what needs to happen, parking, drive-throughs, all of those things that are essential in a city and are essential for businesses to work and operate and do the things they need to do in 2026 and try to make those collide in a manner that looks cohesive.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
So what I hear you saying is you're willing to put in the development agreement that you will bring those buildings up against the highway with the parking lots and things like that toward the back and develop that internal landscaping and walkability. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Sean, you got the sheets for me, please? Thank you. All right. We will start with, is it Mike Shelter or Shetler? Did I say that even wrong? Keller? Sorry. You'll come up here and state your name and address, please, for the record?
Wasn't going to talk, but I guess.
Well, you said yes.
I guess I did.
You don't have to if you don't want.
No,
but
it's-
you said yes, yeah.
Mike Shetler. My address is 167 South River Mist Avenue. So I live right across the street from this, actually right here in Heron River. I'm excited about this development. I'm actually looking to purchase a lot in this development to build a commercial building on, which I'll be in front of you guys on the 23rd. Can we go back to the one that shows the town that said future, is that a pointer?
Ish.
Ish.
Which one you want?
Right there. So on this side, Heron River, I love the grass strip. I know that has nothing to do with their development. But I like that because we put the trees obviously to do a buffer, which I love for the subdivision, but that's an ugly broadage. And I know they did all the construction. I've been here since last year when I moved here. I'm born and raised Idaho, Twin Falls, so not far, but I like that grass look. On the other side where we're doing the commercial development, where these guys are proposing to do it, don't want a lot of trees because you don't want to block the buildings. You don't want to miss the businesses and the signage for the businesses that are building there. So I think that side needs to be more green, less trees. I like the building. The building that we're going to propose, or I'm going to propose, is close to the road, like you were saying. I like the height. I think it should be somewhat big along the road right there to make a standing point. So when you're coming from the east into Star, it's the first thing you see, and it'd be nice to see some big buildings. The building I'm going to propose will be like a piece of art, and that's what I want to do for the community, which will go on one of the pad sites, hopefully, if this gets done. Back to your question, Jennifer, about that, a lot of places do have a ton of concrete. And like they said, there's so much parking we have to allow. For the bigger the building, which we try to get on the site, we have to have parking, which turns into blacktop, which turns into a giant blacktop mess. So where there's so much parking, hopefully we can do some overlay and some cross parking, I'm hoping, with the whole development, because that's what happens anyway. I just bought the gym here in Star about a month ago. And same thing with parking. We got the restaurant that parks there. So it's like everyone shares the parking, which is kind of nice. So I'm hoping this will be nice in this development to share some of that. So maybe we can limit some of the parking in some of the places to maybe make it not so much blacktop. The drive-through is a good deal. Like for even the building I'm going to be proposing is a gym, which you guys will see on the 23rd, is same thing. It has a little drive-through. It isn't really a drive-through like a restaurant, but it's a drive-through for the gym, coffee shop, juice bar, things that people are already going to the gym for, but some people
I
don't.
thought you were going to give me weights to try out my car.
Hey, well, we will. I'll bring you. Let's go. We'll bring them out to you. But it's just things that I want to do, that I have envisions in my mind to do with the gym and with the community. We're just down to the next street where there's no stoplight, and pulling out is not good. And I heard they are doing a stoplight there eventually with that new development. We looked at a lot in there, but it was just too constricted, not enough room. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about this development. I live across the street from it. I'm excited for Star to beautify this whole section, because this is kind of where you come in. It's the look of Star, you know? So I like that.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Mike? None?
I do.
You? Sorry, Councilman Day has a question for you, Mike.
Hey, Mike. So are you closing the old gym?
So I will close the old.
It's not part of this project.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying.
We're going to stay focused on this
You
one.
want a gym that's
I
close.
like how he's thinking though.
But you want a gym that's closer to your house.
No, it had nothing to do with that. It has to do, I love the gym. And I've been
Right.
in the industry since I was 18. Long time. Owned a Gold's Gym years ago, before divorce. That was another whole story. But and I'm a builder. I built homes for 35 years. I built 10 subdivisions in Twin Falls. So I do a lot of this commercial residential development. And I build homes that I won the Parade of Homes most all the years.
Yeah.
And I built the big nice homes. So I want to build something for the community that's nice. I love the gym. I ended up going there. I was retired and met the owner, and it wasn't for sale. And it was just kind of like God. I mean, I love this town already. The way you guys did the Pledge of Allegiance and praying, like the way the mayor knows and understands the town, I love that. It's a Twin Falls hometown feel, which I love. But I want to create something that will be amazing and just take the gym for what they've already built. It's been there for 14 years, and create a masterpiece of what I do, design and building, and then just mix everything with what I love. So,
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. That's it. Nope, we're good. All right, we got Elizabeth and Kurt Johnson. Which one wants to speak, or both? Miss Elizabeth is speaking? Are you gonna speak too, or no? All right.
Thank you. Elizabeth Johnson.
Yep.
I'm at 94. I'm sorry.
Yep, state your address. I'm sorry, you were doing this, so state your address for me.
I didn't. I know if I started too soon. This is a lot more formal than I thought it was going to be. 949 North Dark Maple Avenue, Star.
Okay.
So we are, if you want to go back to the red block, yellow block, our home borders the north part, that yellow. So my concern coming here was what's happening with the yellow part, and that was addressed. So I'm more in the neutral. This is quite a roller coaster hearing all of this. Because I was like, this is going to be terrible. My backyard's going to look at this residential, but that's not the case. So I'm good there. Move my perspective more from
So you're up there towards the top by the pond
at that left corner of the yellow. I'm
of
right
the
there.
yellow? Yeah.
So my backyard looks at the canal, the beautiful tree line that I've been worried about. So sounds like that's not an issue anymore. But as we're talking and showing and I know it's just a mock-up of what that will look like. It looked like a bunch of chains. And we moved to Star for that small town kind of quaint feel. I love the spread of the sea salt creamery, shopping center, that kind of boardwalk feel. And that just felt so not Star-like. So I went from what's going to happen there? Oh, I want, the growth and the businesses, and that feels great. But that mock-up just was like, ugh, that doesn't feel like the look that we had wanted when we moved to Star. So I'm neutral. I like the growth. I like the idea of a grand, beautiful home, like small town home feel entrance, not a bunch of chain restaurants, buildings. So that is all.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Elizabeth? No?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
just to make sure I understand you, you want the opposite of what the mock-up shows.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, give them a chance. So you had to get creative, make it feel like Star, not feel like any other city block that you can drive into anywhere else in the state or country.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. There's a couple others that signed up that didn't wish to speak, and you'll be noted on record. So Mr. Ryan, the time is now yours again.
Again, for the record, Ryan Cutler, Alquist Development, 1144 South Silverstone Way, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. I appreciate when members of the community come out and chat. I think that's important. I look at it as a positive thing because we only know what we know, and it's important to hear what other people like and desire and why they live in Star. So I appreciate Elizabeth and her comments about the small town feel. This is different. I get that. And I tried to, the best I could, not say don't get fixated too much on that design. It's going to look different. It's going to change. We've had that design for a month or so now. It's already changed. Again, it's a work in progress. Definitely feedback we're going to take from this meeting is, again, buildings to the front of the road to make it have that more hometown feel. And I appreciate Mike, as a homeowner across the street there, and for him, and for wanting to build in our subdivision. Thanks, Mike. Those are great things, and that's an opportunity for somebody in Star to develop in Star and be a part of their community there. And I appreciate his comments as well. I wanted to point out a couple things that Mike brought up. Part of the parking issue that we've all generated for ourselves is all of our city codes require parking. And we have to adapt a parking lot to what the city code says. And so the challenge that we have is to make the city happy, make sure everybody can park there, but have it not look like a parking lot. And so that's the creativity that we have to get. And I appreciate Mike's comment about cross parking. We look at cross parking and cross access agreements on all of our developments because of exactly what Mike said. There's going to be cross pollination between businesses and what goes on there. And that's important stuff. We're going to do our best to work with staff to make sure that we meet the code that's required by this city council, but also do our best to make it have more of a hometown feel. It's a happy medium that we have to find there. I do want to point out another thing that Mike talked about. Again, we talked about drive-throughs. He pointed out a drive-through that's something that you wouldn't think of for a drive-through. He has a gym that's potentially going to have smoothies and coffee and whatnot coming from it that's going to have a drive-through. If we limit ourselves to a singular drive-through in a development agreement, maybe Mike gets his, maybe somebody doesn't, and we have to come back for a conditional use permit and talk about that again. I think that's something that's worth noting in our decision tonight of limiting something to a single drive-through could prohibit Mike doing something that he wants to do on his building, but he's going to come talk to you about it in 2 or 3 weeks from now. I do think there's a way that we can work with staff to make sure that that's effectively done, appropriately done, and appropriately spaced without having to come back to this council for every single drive-through that happens. My opinion, you're happy to I'm happy to hear your thoughts again on that, but that's just my opinion. We do want this Elizabeth to feel like Star. I agree. We have to do our best to fill lots with tenants that want to be in Star, and that's another portion of that is we want it to be like Star, and we want it to be local groups. We want it to be people that are from this community. But they also have to want to construct and build something in Star, and we have to find those individuals. So I am happy and open to anybody in this audience or anybody on this dais tonight that knows somebody that's dying to be a part of Star and they're local. Come talk to me. We'd love to talk to them about building something in our subdivision if it gets approved. Again, happy to answer any questions, but I'd conclude my time with that.
Okay. I think now's the time to chat. You can stay up there though, Ryan. You're not done yet. To talk about the drive-throughs and stuff like that, because we got to get it all out on the table now, right? Seems like that's the biggest, because the things that I take from this is from the council and what you're talking about, buildings to the front of the Highway 44, right? And when we talk about, and I just want to bring this up, when we talk about buildings to the front of Highway 44, I don't want it to look like all the utilities are stuck on along Highway 44, so it gives that utilitarian look or whatever you want to call that, right? Needs to be designed in such a way that there's access off the sidewalks or something to make it look good, right? From that side.
And you do need to consider, sorry, Mr. Mayor, considering that too, when you have, if it is a restaurant of any kind, if it's a mom and pop or whatever, they do have to have a back of house, so to speak, where
Right.
deliveries happen, all that stuff. So you have to be very cognizant of how you design. We can say, hey, just put it up to the back of the highway, but then we have to figure out how deliveries are made and all those things. So there's some things that we need to discuss there. There's ways that we can appropriately design that, and we'll take those into consideration as we look at each building, but we do need to keep that in mind to the mayor's point.
Right. And then you were looking for a 60-foot allowance for the medical building, one building there in the center in the back.
Correct.
And we've had this conversation from 1 to 4 drive-throughs, so we need to figure that out. And then the other's coming back for CUPs. That's what I take from what I've heard. Do you have anything else, Sean, that came up? Oh, and then we talked about the road on Plummer, the right out road on that too, and you have to do that. Yeah, acceleration.
Acceleration lane, yeah.
And the uses,
And the what?
the other uses.
Oh, and the uses, and the permitted and not permitted uses.
Correct.
On there, we need to have all those conversations now while Ryan's up there so that they can get answered now for your deliberations.
Height fencing,
And what?
height fencing,
Fencing?
height
Height and fencing, I said the height, 60 foot.
fencing, sidewalk.
Fencing, he indicated he's already doing the fencing on the back.
It will be a 30, just for your reference, there, when we pipe the canal back there, there will be a 30-foot easement over the top of it as required by Middleton Mill. They will allow us to landscape and put a fence within that easement. So our fence will go up as close as we can get to the pipe itself, and then there is ability to landscape in that area through agreement with Middleton Mill.
And then a cross-access agreement we talked about on here too. And then rural residential for the residential side with the statement that this will come back to the council when a plat comes for additional conditions we put in the development
Correct.
agreement.
Anything that happened in that RR zone would have to come back for a preliminary and final plat.
Okay. What else, Sean? All right. So we're all good on I'm just going to direct this conversation. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Buildings to the front of the road. You're good with that? Ryan?
I am.
Okay. Does the council have any questions about the building height for the one medical building? That needs to be addressed with Ryan right now.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on, the buildings to the front of the road, how do you want us to direct that through staff and make sure they're comfortable with our layout? That's a very vague statement. How do you want us to?
It would come through the design review process with us.
Great.
Which we have a council member on it and an architect and stuff like that.
Perfect.
That would review that at that point.
We have an in-house architect that does all of our designs for our buildings, which some of these will be our buildings. So we have a lot of control over that on our buildings for sure.
So they would have to follow at a minimum our architectural building guidelines that we have for those. Okay. Any questions on that 60 foot on that medical or concerns that you guys want to address? Tim? Kevin?
Fine.
The only lot that I would be happy with it on is 7.
So 60-foot building on pad 7. I know Kevin would like to see it on the front, but I don't know how that would fit on this layout here that they laid out either. So
If I may, Mr. Mayor, another reason why it is in that location is because of the parking requirements and the cross parking for the things next to it. It's the one that's going to have the biggest parking requirement. We don't want that to be in the front of the commercial area.
Kevin, you were going to say something? I'm sorry.
I'd say I'd give the 60-foot allowance on the whole property.
We will also
Yeah,
accept
but
that.
I don't think you're going to get that from other council members on that necessarily.
Are you saying one on any of them or one on the whole
Every
thing?
pad.
Well,
Every pad.
We just heard a potential use that wants to come in with the tall building also. I mean, you put one in there, it doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
Every small town I go to that's got old historic buildings, they're all tall. It's beautiful. Done right. And look, I know the Ball family. I know Mr. Alquist. I know the developments that he does around town. None of them suck.
We try not to suck. It's kind of our motto. Yeah. Just don't suck is what they tell me. Yeah.
I have a crane and I still want it lower. So you're talking to the wrong guy.
Supposed to go up with cranes. Come on. All right.
I would be comfortable with at least that one, but I'd say to allow it on half the sites. Allows for variety and allows for homogeneity as well, so.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I mean, that's be up to you guys
I
for
would
the
stick with the
discuss.
one that they asked for, and that's it.
Okay. Well, at a minimum, we
Come
know
back,
that
they
pad
can
7.
come back and talk if we have to talk.
At a minimum, the pad 7 for that. Okay. 2 drive-throughs is what Councilman Wheelock talked about. You asked for 4. Nielsen asked for 1. Other council haven't said anything. Oh, no, you agree.
I
with
just said we don't
Nielsen?
want it to look like fast food row.
So have that conversation, please.
One thing that's going through my mind is what happens if we do say, or you can have 4, and then maybe it sits there for a little bit, and Sean, the mayor, they would say kind of yes or no in certain types or drive-throughs, but what happens if they're gone? And so then we might be looking at something totally different, and then we kind of lose that intent of what we are wanting here tonight. And so is there a way that we can somehow
I'm
get
trying
where we
to,
want to go?
I know where she's going with that. I'm wondering if it's something like 4 different so it's not like 4 fast food restaurants, right? I mean, that's the biggest hangup I think most people have.
Sure.
It's 4 fast food restaurants with the drive-throughs, right?
The challenge, again, not wanting fast food row. I totally understand that. But again, pointing out to Mike's point here, not every drive-through is a fast food.
No. But how can we
Could
break
be,
it down?
a pharmacy element to to a gym. And so I think the challenging part becomes is how do you lay that out? Well, it's going to be this specific use and this specific use. And then to that point, maybe we have a lot that's sitting vacant for a while because we've restricted that lot to something that's not used. And what if it was a mom and pop store that was a local store, but they wanted to have a drive-through? And you would probably accept something like that because it's not a chain restaurant. So how do we?
So would you
differentiate
say
between
something
that?
like if we were to do 4 drive-throughs, only one of them can be a fast food? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're to limit it like that.
You could always come back to, okay, we got one that Jim that says he wants to have a drive-through coffee, whatever. And then you've got one more that you are guaranteed. You can come back for more, but that's the ones that are open and that we don't know anything else about. That to me is where we're starting.
Part of the challenge, and you bring it up with parking about all these city ordinances. Well, we have to have these ordinances, and we have to have these rules because we don't get information.
Yeah, it's not the.
If you come to us with a project that's well spec'd, then we can talk about the parking. But I don't have much information to go off of. And so you're getting the general blanket rules. And by asking to not come back, you're asking us to just leave you with the general rules. and deal with it rather than come back with a specific use and let's make it work. And look, I don't know, I'm going to look at staff here and see if they, fall over on this suggestion, but why couldn't we say that we'll give you you come in for a CUP on this property, we'll give you a 30-day turnaround.
But we can't because of the requirements of our
Going to be a
code,
posting.
right? Do we have to have neighborhood meetings and all that kind of stuff for a CUP?
Yeah, but we do our best to try to get commercial in as quickly as possible. But yeah, we need at least 30 days to.
Yeah, so 45 days. I mean, we'll do it in the minimum time. So it's not 3 or 4 months. I would lots rather see us be able to turn those things around quickly than to just give you the blanket approval tonight and not be able to make it really work for the user that's coming in.
So maybe a thought on that or a suggestion, take it or leave it. Maybe we stick with the 4 that we've discussed before. And I'm not saying that we're just blanket, we can go out there, what are we going to do? We'd still have to go through a zoning compliance portion of that with staff. If staff raised any sort of concern about what was happening there, they could bring it to you for any sort of special consideration if they felt like it was outside of something we discussed this evening. Is that something that could be considered?
And I'll just share one thought on that. And I mean, obviously we're here to consider that, right? And anybody who's known me or spent much time around me in this active role right here knows I don't really care if I'm ever elected again. But there's a political element. People elected us to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't work to say, well, yeah, that really sucks. And I didn't do it, just, city staff did it. The buck stops right up here. Right. These are the decisions that we're elected to make. And I do trust the staff to make decisions within the guidelines. So our challenge then is to give them the guidelines to make those decisions. And I don't have enough information in this application to provide those guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. I appreciate that. I wish I had more to give you tonight, but I don't have any deals until I have approval. So
Right, and that's the challenging part on this whole thing. So trying to think this through a little bit and how to.
So currently it is, they're all drive-throughs are conditional. Is that correct? Right? I'm guessing. Yeah. Okay. So, if we were to say, start with, well, could you start with 2 and then maybe you fill those 2 with awesome, like I won't point out anybody. But anyways, could we open up the development agreement again and say,
You can.
let's add 2 more?
I mean, at that point in time, I guess obviously if we did 2, sorry, Sean, I mean, not trying to cut you off. If we did 2, at that point in time, anything above and beyond that would just be a conditional use permit.
Come back here again.
Oh.
Yeah,
Right.
2's a great option. Let's go with that.
Start with 2 and then we could work our way around that other. Kevin?
2 is more than the 0 that I was coming in here prepared to go.
It's 2 more by my book, yeah.
See, I split the middle.
Okay,
It's like the road. They're trying to provide connectivity. We're trying to provide happy options.
I think the concern is, it's just, what does that look like on the drive-through side of it, right? And maybe there won't be any drive. I mean, you never know. You get, right?
You're,
Except for
fit 'em on-
we got one back there, but you can't.
Oh.
He
Took my seat.
You could talk to him. You could talk to him real quick and then, yeah. You want to answer him? Well, then you get your building built first.
But I'm just saying, there's 4, so I would say in a huge development like that, I can see 4 being totally 100%.
That's got to come from him though, sorry.
Yeah. And they all got to be on pad 7.
Just to make sure whoever's talking is by a mic so we can capture her for the.
That's why I said it's got to come
Yeah.
from Ryan.
Sorry, a secret voice from behind me was discussing, and I think I've been pointing this out from the beginning. I think we're fixated on the fast food element of this from a drive-through, where we've had discussion from Mike earlier of a different type of use that's going to have a drive-through. You could have, for example, if there was a convenience store, all these convenience stores have a drive-through element to it. If you have a pharmacy, any sort of financial institution, any of those things, they all have an ATM or any of those things. And so I think we're just trying to not limit ourselves on what a drive-through is by just saying it's specifically a fast food restaurant. And I think that we need to take that into consideration as we make this discussion or this decision.
That's where I was going with the 4, and you just say that only one could be fast food and the rest of them have.
Well, and I'll just share that I don't consider whatever type it is, because you take, for example, you pull the buildings up to the highway, right? And you put a drive-through on it. The drive-through is going to be on the side of the building that faces the highway.
It is.
And
In some instances, sometimes you can pull it through the parking lot on the side of the building.
right, well, most likely though, right? And so now we have 4 drive-throughs up against the highway. Welcome to Star. Here's our drive-throughs, right? So fast food, I think it's an unfair assumption to think that that's the only thing that we can think about, right? I'm really trying to think about what is our town growing up to be, and what is it shaping out to look like? And having done this for almost 11 years now, there's some areas that I'm proud of, and there's some areas that I'm not proud of. And I can tell you that the areas I'm not proud of are the applications that came in with very little details that we gave blanket entitlements to, and then they developed into something. So even though I've witnessed here tonight that I've got great respect for the company you work for, and I think they'll do a good product, you're also dependent on the people that come to you with their ideas. And if we give blanket entitlements, that's going to look like whatever it looks like. And then we've lost yet another 70 acres of, what could have been.
It's only 14.
I understand, but we're talking about 77. So
I mean, and to your point, Councilman, I understand that,
this is our one crack at it.
we work with the people that we need to work with that are coming to that area. And I don't disagree with your statement there. But there are opportunities within this development agreement that we're creating right now to not just give blanket entitlement, but entitlement with intent through a development agreement.
Yeah. So if we want to put in the development agreement that we're going to allow these drive-throughs, but they're not going to back up to the highway. We're not going to fill our highway with welcome to our drive-throughs. Maybe they all have to go on the backside, or, they go in that other thing. Look, I'm open to the more information we can put into it, the more open I am to, where you're trying to go. So.
I don't disagree with that. The challenging part I have on this side of the microphone is I don't have an improvement to go out and know what those users are going to be at the moment.
Yes,
And that's the
challenge.
purpose
Yeah.
of the conditional use permit,
exactly.
right? It's because there's a natural healthy tension there. But the purpose of that permit is to allow for you to get the zoning and then to figure these things out in steps, because nobody really knows what this all looks like ahead of time.
Yeah, and I agree with a portion of that. There are standards set within C2 zoning that shows what's allowed to go in there. That doesn't require me to even come back with a
Right.
conditional agreement. So there's a give and take there.
Yep.
That's the purpose of the zoning code.
Yeah. I'm not fixated on the fast food either, like Councilman Nielsen. I'm more fixated on what our main thoroughfare looks like. Nobody wants to drive through here, no pun intended. Right? Nobody wants to drive through town and just see like what the mayor was talking about, backs of buildings,
Sure.
drive-throughs, electronics, meters.
Mhm.
We don't want that. We want a softer look coming through town. So I could see whether it's 1 or 12 drive-throughs, that they're in the, probably in the back, right? Where you're not seeing all this traffic of just lines of, drive-throughs, block entrances. People, that hamburger joint in Meridian, I won't say its name, but, people waited 16 days to get a hamburger, right? And they're backed up all the way to Twin Falls,
Right.
right? We don't need that.
Yeah.
That's not
I
what
saw him
we're
at his
looking
house in Twin Falls before.
for,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, I understand. I think this is a healthy discussion. We could probably have all night about this. We're here with the intent to do right by Star with a strong development that is going to outclass other developments that we see in
Right.
Star currently right now. I got to find a happy medium between not too much parking lot and not too many trees to block Mike's building and not too many drive-throughs for businesses that all want drive-throughs and have to park people. So
Mm.
that's the challenge that we're up against as the developer. And we're just hoping that we
Yeah.
think openly and fairly in a development agreement that allows us to accomplish those things without
Mm.
handcuffing us too much.
Yeah. On this side, it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And like Councilman Nielsen was saying, it's, when you write a blank check, bad things happen, right?
Understood.
So I think we have to have more certainty, more clarity on what the plan is, right?
But you gotta,
Somewhat.
I'm
It just
gonna
can't
go, I'm
be.
gonna go the opposite direction. You gotta understand that you gotta get a zone, you gotta get it approved. They're not gonna know what those units are gonna be, that are gonna be there. You can't pre-sell anything. This is a difficult conversation that we're having, and I feel like we are getting fixated on, when we're saying that it's not drive-through restaurants. I call BS, unfortunately, on that, because that's what I hear from folks as they talk about fast food restaurants. Not one person has said anything about drive-through coffee shops. Anywhere. No one's ever said anything. It's always McDonald's of the world, the Sonic that's going in down on the other side. It has never been the banks about drive-through. It's just, why do we need another bank? Right? The only thing I ever hear is fast food restaurants. And that's what I think we are truly fixated on that aspect of it, and not looking at the totality of what a drive-through looks like. And unfortunately, we had an event 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that created a whole different aspect for drive-throughs.
Mhm.
Right? COVID created a drive-through mecca almost everywhere, where people are buying stuff through drive-throughs. Probably every one of us in this building has went through a drive-through and utilized drive-throughs as a means of convenience. But we want to say, in our community of Star, we don't want that convenience at all.
No, it's not at all what
Part
we're
of
saying.
that.
I don't
I
That's
do
not
feel-
even
unfortunately,
close to
guys,
what we're saying.
That's my opinion. That's what I feel.
Well, that's
our
great, but-
Conversation is going.
Represent that that's what we're saying.
I'm just saying, we don't
I'm
want.
telling you what my opinion is on what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, we just don't want all the drive-throughs on the corridor. on
Then
the-
make a
on the
condition
face.
of that.
Well, that's what I've been saying to them.
Right.
That's what I said.
Then you make a condition of that if that's what you want to do. But we gotta, we talk, Mike over there was talking about a drive-through. I don't know what weights or something. I don't know.
Bar.
Fruit
Juice
bar
bar.
or something
Right.
like that on
Right.
there, right? It's just, there's a whole different variety of drive-throughs that are out there,
Sure. Sure.
that are available. So I don't know. It's an interest, it's an interesting discussion, I guess.
Mayor Chadwick.
Yeah.
Okay. The discussion's going long. I get that. And I guess I've been looking for, if you're going to give us any cues for more information or whatever. But I'm perfectly happy to just, let's write some stuff into the development agreement. We'll put some guardrails around what we think we're willing to live with. And if you can live with it, then we have an agreement. If not, then we don't.
And you can always bring it back to make an adjustment to it, right?
Well, that is the purpose of the CUP. And we're here, being requested for no CUPs and for pre-approved uses. And, frankly, gas stations and drive-throughs in this town, because you are right, the people are really concerned about those things in particular. And so we pre-approve it tonight without any details. That's a problem. So what I'm going to recommend that we do in the development agreement is that we go with I'll say 3 drive-throughs. None of them can be on Highway 44. They all have to be in the back. And then in terms of the gas station, that comes off the pre-approved list. I don't mind the others that are on there. And I guess that's what I propose, and see, we're not in deliberation yet, but see if you're amenable to that.
We gotta talk to the applicant about it.
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Councilman. I'll be really honest to say that there can be no drive-throughs on that corner. Either of those corners will be a real challenge. Every person that looks at our development, the highest valued lot are both of those corners. And so, you're going to have convenience stores or anything with a drive-through is going to look at one of those corners. So to say nothing could be a drive-through on those front 4 lots, I think is very challenging for our development. I don't quite honestly, I don't think it's very fair to our development. And I'm not saying that we're going to do 4 drive-throughs all the way through the frontage of that, but to say to have nothing on the front of that with a drive-through, I think is something that we would disagree with.
So on
Not
the,
even having any users that are going to, but I knowing development, I'm in development and that's what we do. People with drive-throughs want to be on the hard corner of development. That's just how development works. And so the value you can get out of that from a lot makes it really challenging for us to run a development, paying, millions and millions of dollars to develop a property, to have to sell the highest valued lot to somebody that maybe can't pay that highest value and decrease the value of it. And again, that's me being selfish as a developer, but it's the actual truth of what's happening in development. So I don't think, and I can defer to our legal counsel on that we would accept no drive-throughs on no single drive-through on the front 4 parcels. I think that's unfair to us as the developer.
so we've shared concerns about what our concerns about having drive-through along the front, but you haven't offered anything to mitigate those concerns.
Sure.
So can you offer something to mitigate the concerns?
Yeah, so I think we have offered and discussed that a little bit in adjusting the building. You're correct. Even if a drive-through happens and you move a building to the front of the lot, there's going to be some sort of element of a drive aisle, parking on the side, and I've ordered my food online and I'm going to sit and park somewhere. Those are all things that we've discussed in this discussion tonight. So by moving those buildings to the front, we're alleviating some of the parking that would take place in front of the buildings. It doesn't completely alleviate us having a drive aisle of some sort, whether that be a bank, a gym, a pharmacy, any of those things that need to utilize a drive-through. There may be some of those that would require them to go around the building. There's not really any way to get around that. That's how buildings are designed. That's how they work. That's how the parking lots work. So we can do our best to get as creative as we can to make those drive-throughs, if there are any, as effective as possible without going around the building. But to stand here and say that we're going to have no drive-throughs around a building on the front of this parcel is a real challenge for us. Okay, I'm just being open about that.
Yep.
Right. Any further comments on that? I mean, we got to have the discussion. I mean, it's going to be,
I mean, when I looked at this in the beginning, in my mind, what I saw was, we got Toontown, right?
Yeah.
Just to the west, right?
Yep.
There's walkability right there. And in my mind, I was thinking this could be something beautiful where you could walk, it'd be walkability all the way from Toontown to the end here, shops, coffee shop, whatever, you know what I mean? This shop, this nice walkability, where people would frequent all day, every day, right? So that's what I was picturing in my mind was this, the medical facility back there, I think is great. And so, yeah, I just think we need to, like Councilman Nielsen said, let's not waste a great opportunity with places that people don't want in this town, right?
it's not to say that people don't want it.
Well, they don't.
That's the unfortunate part. You hear
No.
only a few that are online that say that,
Hmm.
right? I mean,
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, okay?
And I guess maybe.
People would rather have walkability like shops and place like, the gym would be nice, right? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, banks have drive-throughs. I get it. I'm not saying every drive-through is Taco Bell, there's a lot of buildings that have drive-throughs. I just think if we had drive-throughs here, they'd be better suited in the back and the front be nice walkability businesses. That's all I'm saying.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
do you have anything that, like volume wise for that could help us in any way? So, like a In-N-Out burger is going to be totally different than the gym.
Sure.
Is there anything there that we could possibly use to help?
Yeah, and again, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, It's a great question. Unfortunately, the answer is no, we don't have those deals done, right? But the thing that I'm bringing up is the ability to adjust the pad sizes to accommodate a user. I'm not saying this on record. If there was an In-N-Out Burger, there's not. If there was an In-N-Out Burger, we know through development, we're doing one in Meridian, that they require a 2-acre lot as opposed to a 1-acre lot because of the queuing and stacking and parking they require. As a developer, it's our requirement to work with that tenant, if that's who it was going to be, to develop a lot that accommodates them, that doesn't gum up an entire development. That's our responsibility to do that. That's the purpose, the reason why we're doing this development the way it is, with the ability to adjust those lots in size, is to be able to accommodate the user, to make sure that the building is situated properly, the parking is accounted for, and we can look through drive-throughs and see what is the best in that matter. So I know that doesn't really exactly answer your question from a user standpoint, but that's where we're at today.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
take it or leave it, but as I look at the site that we're looking at, I would be all looking at pad 1 and pad 5 as the two that I would think would be most useful for a drive-through, pad 7 for a 60-foot and a fence. And other than that, I think it's all the other things with the moving the buildings to the front is as good as you're going to get. And it's as open a commercial area for our city as you're going to find. I think we're getting worried about things that, and I get it, I've only been on for 5 years, Kevin. But to me, you've got to have some version of what looks like it's going to make sense, and let the CUP come back if they want to get deeper into the details. I would lock it down at 2 and be happy. If there's more needed, there's a process to do that.
So lock it down at 2, come back with a conditional use for anything other than that.
That would be my opinion.
I would support that too. Just going off what we have here.
I think from a developer standpoint, that would satisfy a need for us, and we could come back and discuss any further details on that in the future.
Any more comments on that? Mr. Nielsen, anybody? No? Okay, and then we had a cross-access agreement we were talking about, and then, yeah, that's all I got. Anything else that you have on that?
No, I think, I guess I would go back. There was a discussion that happened, sorry to bring up more things, from Councilman Nielsen. He said he wanted to strike from the allowed uses the gas station
Oh, the
element.
gas station. Oh, right, the uses.
We would prefer that stay in and have that discussion if needed.
Want to discuss that, Councilman Nielsen?
Again, knowing that anything that comes in, we still have to go through a zoning compliance and a building review with staff.
No, I guess I've given my opinion on it.
Okay. Any further discussion on that being permitted versus conditional?
I'm good with the list as it sits.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything further for the applicant or staff? All right, we'll move to, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
It is, what is it, 8:53, and we'll move to council deliberations. Anybody?
I'm gonna let them get their, I would, I've expressed my opinion. Lot 1 and Lot 5 would have a sensible drive-through. Anything else could come back and talk. I would think the 60-foot height would be more than I would like everywhere. So
Is that appropriate for pad 7?
appropriate for pad 7. And I think they've agreed to have a fence along the north side of that property, protecting the resident that is still there. We talked about the shared or the ride-in and extension around Plummer. I think that's all good. I think a blend lane into Plummer accelerating would be appropriate and make sense. They've agreed to have some special effort put to pad 5, whatever that looks like, to not have it be a vanilla building as an entrance to the east end of our town west of 16. So other than that, I'm good. I prefer the buildings in the middle of the pad, and I think that's not universal for everybody here. I like them surrounded. So
Okay.
it's a little give and take.
Further comment? Motions?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. So I'm going to motion that we approve this with pad 1 and 5 authorized for the drive-throughs, but not to have the drive-through windows on the Highway 44 side. Pad 7 and up to 2 others for the 60-foot allowance. Keep the gas station in the allowed list. And the other caveats as we've discussed and Sean's already listed out.
You got them, Sean? Which is the fencing in the back, the cross-access agreement.
So the exhibit that's on the screen, keep that
Keep it.
as is for the permitted and the prohibited uses.
Yep. But then his motion had 3 buildings at 60.
Yeah, pad 7 and up to 2 others.
Okay? And the fencing in the back, you got that, right? And the cross-access agreement for pedestrian stuff. All right. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilwoman Solomon. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Solmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. We're gonna have to take a 5-minute facilities break. So we'll come back in here at, well, about 7-minute facilities break, about 9:05. So it's 8:50, almost 8, and we're adjourned for. All right. It's 9:05, and we're gonna call our city council meeting back to order and move on to item 6B, which is the Rusty Flat subdivision and rezone. It is, I'll say it's 9:05. We're going to open the public hearing and ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project.
None?
No.
None.
Okay, hearing none. Sean, the floor is yours. And just for the council or for the public to understand, all the same rules apply as what we talked about before. Thank you. Let's waiting for Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Your next public hearing is for the Rusty Flats subdivision. The applicant is requesting approval of a rezone from residential R1 to residential R3 with a development agreement and a preliminary plat. Property is located on the south side of West New Hope Road, west of Brandon Road. Property being developed is 5.9 acres in size. Preliminary plat includes 18 residential lots and 3 common lots. The proposed residential density is 3 dwelling units per acre. All application requirements, including submittals, agency transmittals, legal noticing, and site posting have been completed per the requirements of the Unified Development Code. Application has been reviewed for compliance with the UDC and the city comprehensive plan. The future land use map designation is estate urban residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre. You do have a late exhibit in front of you from the Star Fire District. Items for special consideration include sidewalks, including a 10-foot width for the sidewalk along New Hope Road and sidewalk on the corner of New Hope and Brandon per the original development agreement. Common lot, also a common lot separating lots 11 and 12 to avoid double frontage lots with the private road that is to the south of this development. Also, future building elevations for the residential structures, and fire district concerns with access. Staff is recommending approval of the application with conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Okay, any
Again,
questions?
and again, for reference, the vicinity map shows where the project is located and a copy of the subdivision preliminary plat.
Okay, all right. Any questions of staff at this time? Councilman Nielsen?
Yeah, Mayor Chadwick.
What happened to our, oh, there we go. Go ahead.
This may be more of a complexity type question, but as I look through the staff report, something about the Kirshner-Dill development agreement, question around that. Does it apply to this application as redevelopment of the future western parcel? And so do we need to require that offsite sidewalk now?
That was the intent of that condition of the development agreement. If you choose not to do that, then that development agreement would need to be modified, and that is not part of this application. This has a separate new development agreement for just this portion.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions of staff? Is it Paul that's going to present? Who's present? Oh, you're going to present? Okay.
All right. Dennis Jordan, Focus Consulting, 1001 North Rosario Street in Meridian. Here to present to you, Mr. Mayor, council members, the Rusty Flats residential subdivision. As was mentioned by Sean in his introduction, 5.9 acres south of New Hope Road, proposing 18 single-family lots, and is currently vacant ground, looking to develop this into a residential community. The 3 lots per acre do have varied sizes on their individual lots themselves. We are looking for a preliminary plat development agreement for that and a rezone to an R3 zone. So as we look at this site, specifically with what's directly around it, there is a lot of neighborhood development going on all around there. Campanula Street to the west has been stubbed with the intent to be extended into the future, which is now what we're hoping to do for this site itself. So the access is through the Hope Springs subdivision. There is no direct access onto New Hope. And city services are stubbed at the end of Campanula to the site. As you can see with the future vision of the city of Star, this particular location does fit into what is intended to be used long-term. Right, to the west, we have neighborhood residential, 3 to 5 units per acre. We have urban residential surrounding it, and also estate urban residential around. So as we are proposing this site, it does align with the comprehensive plan in the future land use map that we see here. So our objectives, again, is to provide a place where people want to live in the city of Star. This is a great community, as we just witnessed for many hours of discussion. It's the intentional nature of which the council puts into their decisions for the people who want to live here. So as we're looking at this site, putting this in here to be able to accommodate that as a place to live for people to come and enjoy the city of Star. We want to be harmonious with our neighbors and provide a place, again, that can bring more people to the great community of Star. So from the staff report, it does mention that this allows for the development that is consistent with the comprehensive plat map. So some highlights for our site plan as we're zooming in on this. We are looking at 18 residential lots, 3 common lots. We'll get into some of the amenity features later. Lot sizes range from 7,840 up to 15,000 square feet. As we move towards the east, as a buffer, we do propose the larger lot sizes. We are above the required open space, as you can see there, by about 10% of the actual required area. Streetlights will meet the dark sky requirement as required by the City of Star. And the report that was presented to you late today from fire, we've already had discussions with the fire chief on the areas that need to be able to provide a secondary access. As you can see on the screen, there is proposed a potential secondary access for emergency services only onto New Hope. Would not be a through access, but specifically for emergency services only. So our intent along New Hope is to match the landscape design to the west from the neighbor of the Hope Springs subdivision. Want to provide that same berming with the landscape feel to make that a continuity to be able to present beautifully to the neighborhood itself. We want to work on having a gazebo, picnic table area to have that community feel within the middle of the subdivision on that common lot as well. Staff's concern about lots 11 and 12 on the southeast corner. That was the main point that we had concerns with from the staff report. There is no current access to Kenzie Lane, which is a private road. We do not have access to, we don't have a right to access that road as it stands. We'll be putting a fence around the perimeter of the project, so that will also mitigate that. And additionally, from the actual pavement itself, there is already a 9-foot space between the asphalt and the property line. So as staff had recommended some form of common lot, we would ask for further discussion as to the applicability of that common lot area there and how it would be functionally served in that area. We are willing to put any kind of restrictions into a plat format of saying that there will be no restriction or no access onto Kenzie Lane from this subdivision. Right. The previous development agreement, as was mentioned earlier with the Dill property, does talk about the improvements to the sidewalk along New Hope and along Brandon. For this development, we are willing to not only improve the frontage along our site, but the neighboring 5 acres on New Hope as well, to continue that sidewalk from where it ends at the Hope Springs subdivision east until the intersection of Brandon and New Hope. The concern with extending the sidewalk along Brandon in front of the neighboring property at this point, as prescribed in the development agreement. As you can see, there are many different site constraints on that for a site that's not at the point of development yet. There's an existing irrigation pond, horse arena, and fencing. There are a lot of areas that may impact that are not at the point of being developed at this stage. So our request on that is to be able to have a look at the neighbor's development agreement and have the landowner or the applicant pay a fee in lieu of installing sidewalks along Brandon there at this time.
Do like a cash bond.
However, it seems to be agreed upon.
Okay.
So that when the time is right for that to be developed, is something already in place there. Questions also were brought up were the different housing types. These are different examples of the elevations of homes that we would anticipate seeing within this subdivision. We do not have a specific builder in tow with this, but these are the areas that would show the types of development that we expect.
So those housing types, I think we would want to put them in the development agreement as what these are going to look like, because we don't want to go into one of the national builders and all of a sudden have those
Understood.
in there. Does that make sense? Yeah. Can I go back and ask you a question real quick though? Did you say that you were going to do the sidewalk all the way to Brandon,
Correct.
but you want to do some sort of cash in lieu of
For the Brandon side of
the
it.
Brandon side until that develops later? I mean, can we do that, or is that an ACHD thing?
Yeah, ACHD would have to be part of that
Discussion?
agreement, that discussion and that agreement. But yes, you would be able to.
I agree with Sean. I mean, it's ADHD right away, right? So
Yeah.
we can't just do stuff to it. But I think we could work with ACHD to have something set up, assuming the city wants that improvement to happen, which I think it probably does. And he's willing to make it happen. I think we can work between the developer, the city, and the Haiti County
Okay.
Highway District to make sure that there's a fund established that would hold those funds as proposed, or if there's another mechanism the city was interested in.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mayor Chadwick. A
Councilwoman?
question about that. So are you saying that the New Hope Road, that frontage would not have a sidewalk until Brandon is,
No, the New Hope would have the sidewalk.
okay?
At Brandon, it would not going south to that other development.
Front of the
Like-
property.
Yeah, across the front where they got all the utilities. Right. It would have it from there to there, just not there to there.
Okay.
Until that part piece develops at that, but they would pay a cash bond or whatnot that we work out with ACHD on what that cost would be for that for future.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I have one more question for you. On
Please.
are you done, by the way?
Yes, we're done. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right. I saw the thank you thing and now here I am jumping
Yeah.
into that. On your little green strip that you show for fire access, it's intended to get vehicles out too in case there's a major fire, right?
That's
on there.
deemed necessary. It's not a normal ingress egress route.
Right.
But in an emergency situation, we can work with the fire.
Did Victor say if he would approve that or not?
Yes, we
I
discussed that.
we haven't gotten a letter on that at all.
I was, as you know, this letter was sent in today. We had a phone call with him after we received this and had this conversation. Victor did say that this would meet that
And
criteria.
unfortunately, he got called out to a call,
Yeah.
so he's not here to ask.
I can say whatever I want for him.
Right. Well, we can condition whatever we want.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I can confirm that Victor did review that and he was satisfied with those options to work with the fire district on that access.
Yeah, so
Your letter basically gives them the options of sprinkling the buildings, providing another secondary access to meet the fire code. And so Victor was comfortable after meeting with them today.
So I think it's just so everybody's clear on what the challenge is there is, since they're connecting into Hope Springs, that Hope Springs access creates 32 lots. And you're only allowed to have 30 lots with a single access into a development, so it requires a secondary access. That's the reasoning for that, and I'm glad you worked that out already with him, so that's a good thing. Okay. Councilwoman?
Thank you. Staff, Sean, could you talk about that pathway to connect into that other street? So the lots between 11 and 12. And so if I'm understanding correctly, so you're recommending that there is a pathway there, and then the applicant, you're saying,
Not, Mr. Mayor, and Councilwoman, not a pathway. The staff is recommending a common lot. If the way it is right now, you would have a double fronted lot on 11 and 12. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up their
Can we,
staff.
are you trying to pull the plat up for that other
Yeah.
development?
Give me just a second here.
double, what do you call it? A double?
But it's a double front, so when you look, can you go back to your plat on there?
Sean, can you help pull that up for me?
Back?
So basically what it's showing on lots 11 and 12 right there, you have the frontage on inside their development. And what Sean is saying is those back fences access that private street to the south.
So
So that's
but,
considered a double front. But what he's saying, there's a 9-foot landscape strip already on that subdivision that's already there, I think is what you're indicating.
Correct. There's space between asphalt and property.
Right, but we look at the landscape thing and see,
Staff's concern though is that private road is on a common lot within that development. So what is to stop someone from in 11 and 12 from accessing that? You have no, I do like the idea of putting a plat note on there, maybe a deed restriction. And if they build a fence, I think staff would be more comfortable with that. But
So they can't put a driveway,
Again,
Access to the
again,
back.
there's a reason why ACHD doesn't allow double fronted driveways. It's for that reason right there. So people don't open up a fence and get access off of a road that they don't have permission to. In this case, it's a private road. So again, I believe that what the applicant is proposing with a fence, if we can make a condition in the development agreement that they put a fence along that south boundary, and that they put a deed restriction on the deed and also a plat note or some kind of
Some
note.
form, yes.
That way, those folks have something to go on if that does happen. Correct.
Mayor Chadwick,
yes, sir.
I'm curious, what if the owner of the private road wants to give them access?
Well, we don't have any of that information.
No, we don't, but-
That's a very good question. If
But-
ACHD is the one that doesn't allow the double fronted, since it's a private road, if they were to get permission, they could access it.
Well, they
We
could come back in.
We
and
do not
remove that.
have anything, on record giving them permission to access that.
Right. So I'm just thinking that if we take some action here tonight to prohibit that, I mean, that's certainly something that as a private landowner, they'd have the right to go negotiate with that private road owner. And we're taking that right away from them.
Well, we're taking it away now, but they could come back and ask for us to remove it once they have that agreement in place. Right now, we're protecting that private road and the development over there from these guys taking access inadvertently on that, in my
Right.
opinion. It doesn't mean that they can never get it. They can come back and just ask for that to be removed.
Yeah. So why don't we just stipulate that now that if at such time that they, if and when they get that, then they could have access. But until that time, but if we force them to put a common lot there, then it would never happen.
No, that's what Sean is saying, is put it on the plat note and we put it in the DA with that, and then you'd have to come back and remove that on there. We're
Or
not
the-
saying
or-
that,
Or the plat note says with a,
Unless permission is granted by the owners of the private.
and we could say that it's a recorded agreement, right? Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I think we can come up with some language that would address your concern, but also,
And in either case, as you mentioned, there would be no need for that common lot to separate those lots from the private road. This would take care of that, and that would no longer be a condition.
because the common lot does present some difficulties with maintenance and things like that. So I think this is a better
Yeah.
approach to it, with your added comment.
I'm sorry, isn't there a fence around it?
Yeah.
Right,
well, there'll be a fence around theirs.
around that, yeah, the
There's
lot.
nothing stopping someone
Well-
from tearing down a fence or
Fen-
putting a gate in. It
Fences,
happens all the
fences
time.
can install gates.
Okay. Could you put in the HOA that they can't like do anything in the fence?
Mm.
Well,
CCNRs
but I
can
mean, it's
be,
a plat-
CCNRs can
Oh,
be
okay.
changed.
But if you
I
put it
think
on
we've-
there,
I think we've got.
that's enforceable.
Okay.
Unless they can be access like Councilman Nielsen was saying on there, that makes sense. Okay. Any other questions? Council, of this applicant?
Thought you were going over. I would love to know about the fire escape road, whatever we want to call it, on lot 6. Is that where that's going?
That's the intent at this point, yes.
And is that going to be bollarded?
Yeah, so the intent to work with that is to those knockdown bollards in coordination with Chief Eastloss.
It'll look like a walk path unless it's knocked down by the
Used
fire
for
truck.
emergency situations, yes.
And he has a specific standard for his bollards.
And would it be just gravel, I'm assuming, or paved, or what does that look like as a pathway?
Surface, whatever that is.
I think we make it as a concrete pathway that attaches to the other concrete pathway because it's going to take it right out the floating feather. I mean, New Hope on there. It'll be an internal path.
Internal path that is connectivity, you could walk on it.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant? Okay, here.
Uh,
Yep.
Well, do we have amenities you want to talk about or no?
I think that was, I think he had that on one
Yeah.
slide, I believe.
Gazebo, picnic table area in that open space.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. Sean, to get the sheets? Okay, we have Miss Karen Dill. Did you want to speak? Okay, go ahead. And again, state your guys, everybody, please state your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Karen Dill, and excuse me, I'm the owner of the property. Excuse me. I plan on staying. I'll own the 5 acres adjacent to the property. So I'm concerned, you know, what my neighbors are. Right now, my neighbors are Hope Springs. And when I first moved here 22 years ago, I knew that I bought property that could be developed, knowing that my husband's almost 80, I'm 78, and we no longer can really maintain that parcel. And I would like it to be used to help us in our retirement by selling it. And that was my intention when I bought the 11 acres, that I would subdivide it at some point. I was hoping that things would develop differently around me. Not so many houses, particularly with Hope Springs, and now across the street on New Hope and Hubble and CBH. You know, when I first moved there, we knew all 5 people that lived around there. It was all farmland. And now, you know, we've met quite a few people because people enjoy coming to our property because we have the horses and what have you. I have a concern, and the reason we have a concern about the sidewalk, and it has nothing to do that I'm against sidewalks particularly, but what happened when Brandon was changed at New Hope to allow for Beacon Light to extend and go into the new housing development of Hubble, a kitty corner from us, they raised the road about 2.5 feet. So our lower pasture is 2.5 feet lower than the road, and our fence is now lower. There used to be about an 8-foot easement, a shoulder. We could walk our horses around the road. Now we can't, we'd be in the road. So I don't know how we could put a sidewalk in. I mean, we'd have to, I don't know, take the road out, level it, or raise our pasture up. That's the concern, is that corner. It also is an HRM easement on that corner. And I'm a secretary treasurer of the HRM irrigation lateral. There's never been a plan to cross that easement. So we'd have to do something about that.
ACHD works on those all the time,
Right.
all over the valley. So they would work with the HRM about that easement.
And then, you know, you saw the whole utility thing.
Mhm.
They'd have to tear all that out. So I don't know. So that's the problem with having the sidewalk come around the corner. Had it been the normal, you know, shoulder, there wouldn't have been a problem. But they put Brandon Road all the way up to our fence line, basically.
Right.
So that kind of precluded putting any sidewalk. And if they put it through our little pasture, the road would be up here, cars would be there. Because when I'm in there, it's kind of like, oh, okay, there are the cars. You know, so that's the problem, Jennifer, because I know you're really into sidewalks. That's the problem with it, that there wasn't a plan when they changed that intersection to accommodate changing Beacon Light and New Hope.
And I think that's why we're looking at that option of the cash bond or whatever for that sidewalk for the future on Brandon. Because when you look at that, there's no way, I mean, there's utilities all over the place
Yeah.
on that thing. It doesn't make sense right now. It's going to take a while for that to happen.
So, you know, that's the reason that we're selling the land
Okay.
and have it be developed. And the people that we're working with, he's been here for a long time, and I've seen what he's done in other places, and he builds nice homes. And that's what we're looking for, because they're going to be our neighbors. They're going to be right on our property line, and I'll be able to see them and work with them, and hopefully they, you know, enjoy moving to Star like everyone else has. I mean, and everyone here, you know, when I first moved here, they didn't live here. They've all moved in, and, you know, we've been good neighbors, and we hope that they'll be good neighbors to the next group of people that come in.
Yep. Appreciate you. Thank you. Mr. Frank, you didn't check anything. Did you want to talk? Nope. Okay. Thank you. Let's see, Miss Donna.
Good evening. My name's Donna Nuzzi. I live at 11544 Heliopsis. And I came here against this project. My main concern was the emergency services access. I spent 25 years as an emergency manager, and I know what it's like. Well, I'm not a fireman, but I'm the person who was facilitating the evacuations of thousands of people in emergency. So I am very grateful to see that the fire chief put in that new mitigation requirement. But my feeling about is what's going to happen while this development is being done. My neighbors who live on Campanula are going to be in a construction zone. And I want to know what safety elements and measures are going to be in there for the kids who are right now playing in that cul-de-sac and have that. It's very concerning.
Okay.
Wait, I have a bunch of things here. So with that in mind, when I looked at the, there's mitigation for dust and air quality and all that, but it's really about the construction vehicles and then the worker vehicles that'll be on the property. So I'd like to a response to that. Living in Hope Springs, we have two gateways into our community, West Clover and Roslyn Way. So the Roslyn Way is going to be this development's gateway. And I appreciate that the density is 3 homes. I mean, I think it's awesome. I chose to live in Hope Springs because I wanted a smaller piece of land from where I lived formerly. But so I appreciate the size of those lots, and I think it's great. And it looks like they're going to be beautiful homes. Nothing against that. But the amenity of our gateway coming in is going to add to that development. We have it all landscaped, and then at Christmas it's lit up. I'd like to know, will the applicant help support that landscape funding? If they're going to have an HOA, I think that would be something as a negotiation that could be added to the irrigation of the medians and the landscape. And we do it twice a year. I already have the alternative. I had a question about a traffic study, but listening to the previous applicant, my only question about traffic studies is they're based on 2024, and this McBean corridor has substantially grown in the 4 years that I've moved here. In fact, I'm having my 4-year anniversary at the end of this weekend of being an Idaho resident. So I hope that maybe for other future developments, until the requirements and how the traffic studies are done, maybe do what this developer was talking about, the 2% increase with the traffic volume. Because I could tell you, turning out of Hope Springs, either right or left at certain times, I mean, it's more than 350 cars coming down there in an evening hour. So a question I have is regarding
You just got a few more seconds there, ma'am. Sorry.
regarding the park slips. The thing says that it's going to be done by the homeowners association or the homeowner. I'd like to know, because I'd like to see continuity of the parking. I call them parkway mediums in front of your house. Are they going to be landscaped by the owner, or is the developer going to be putting that in? And then also the perimeter fencing, is it going to be cohesive to what we have in Hope Springs? Since we are abutting each other's properties, that fencing around the perimeter of Rusty Flats should be in a cohesive fencing to ours, similar or close to it. And I also looked at, in looking at the plat, the mailbox placement at lot number 18. It's like when you first come in, I could speak to you as a resident, having a mailbox right in front of a house is not conducive. People
I
block your
will tell
driveway.
you, unfortunately, the post office dictates that.
Really?
They don't get it dictated. We don't get it dictated. It's the postmaster that dictates the locations of those.
No consideration of how it affects
They don't-
neighboring.
No, it's all 100% consideration to get their 87 cents a stamp. now.
Okay. All right. So
So-
yeah, I just really wanted to confirm about the HOA and the maintenance of the parkway medians.
So
Is what-
we'll let them answer that question when
Okay,
they get back
yeah,
up there.
Because it's handwritten that it's to be implemented and executed and maintained by the homeowner. So I read that as that you are planting, or is it the developer planting and irrigating that?
Yeah, we'll have him answer that when he comes back.
Okay.
For you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, that's all that signed up. We have several that are not speaking and they'll be put on the record. We'll give that to you guys on there. So you want to come back up and do your 10 minutes or less?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, thank you again. First thing I want to address is the comment about the emergency service access. We would propose that we have that conversation with Victor himself to determine that surface, whether it be asphalt.
I'm not going to let him determine that surface. We're going to make it concrete as a pathway through there because it's going to be cohesive with the neighborhood stuff. The asphalt is not conducive for that. But the concrete will be a long-term surface. We make concrete on a lot of this stuff all over the place.
So the entirety of that emergency service road would be concrete. Is that
Should be concrete to go in there, yeah, for access. It's like a path, how wide is it, 10 foot? 12 foot?
10 feet of concrete would make sense to match in with the sidewalk. The entire emergency service access is 20 feet wide.
So I would do 10 feet sidewalk and then some grasscrete or something on the
Something
side
that can be a driveway.
of that, right, yeah, but a 10-foot
That's a matter.
pathway for the citizens to utilize on there that's cohesive with everything else is good on that, yeah.
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 Understood.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, if you were going to make it 24 foot, that'd be kind of big.
A little excessive though, for sure.
Your crane would fit.
Just got to get past the bollards at that point. Perfect. To the comments from Ms. Donna on that, as far as contributing to their landscape, I can't commit to that. We're simply using that as a public right of way to access our site. As far as the contributions to their landscape and their access, I can't commit to that as it is a public right of way in there. As far as the landscaping in front of the homes and the planter strips, the home builder will provide that landscaping on there.
So is that in I thought that was Ryan, isn't that usually the development that does all the landscaping up between the road and the sidewalk? And not before you sign off on the plat? Correct? So answer the question there. One of you Ryans back there.
So when we go out and we sign off on a final plat, we look for all landscaping in common lots. But any landscaping that's in front of a residential home, we do not require that until the C of O of the home. And that's because when you're building a home, you're going to tear all that landscaping up.
I understand that. My question is between the sidewalk and the road.
Correct.
That is common lot.
No, it's not.
That homeowner lot?
That is homeowner lot.
So we don't require any of that?
Not until the C of O of the home.
Okay, all right. All right, good answer.
Yep.
Thank you.
As far as the maintenance on the common lots within the site, the HOA will maintain.
Okay.
I believe that addressed major concerns.
All right, any questions there? For the applicant, we can't ask any more questions, sorry. Councilwoman?
Yeah, thank you. Can we put in a condition that they do maintain that median? Is that too much?
Well, we don't typically.
Well, the reason I ask is I think I know exactly there's another development now where I live and it's waiting to be built out. The weeds are starting to grow into the sidewalk. The site is getting very overgrown with weeds. And there's a detached sidewalk. And again, like that median in between the road and the sidewalk, it's like by the end of the summer, you may not be able to pass through it. So is there something that we can?
I think, can you put, you what?
So that's an enforcement thing. We can't say anything. Yeah, because it's.
We have a guy
this-
for that.
Yeah, I know. I almost sent something today to say we need the code enforcement on this.
I don't think we
Okay,
can.
but we
If
can't-
it's not a common lot that's part of the subdivision, we can't force it to be landscaped.
Okay.
It's part, and I don't think we do. It sounds like we don't.
Yeah, Mayor, there's a practical part of that too, because if you're requiring that to be landscaped, does each plat's approved, then you've got to have pressurized irrigation that runs through all that. And when you've got construction vehicles coming in after that, you could be destroying all of that before the house is built. And so I think that's why the city says, do it as part of C of O. So when the house is built, it's all landscape with the rest of the house, and the homeowner maintains it after that. Prior to that, if there's weeds and everything, the city has code enforcement and takes care of it.
Yeah, this, okay.
Okay.
For clarification, referring to the planter strip in between the sidewalk and the road within the subdivision, not
Yeah.
any other aspect of it.
Right.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Right.
And Mr. Mayor, Council, we do make sure that that is consistent throughout this subdivision, that it's all the same.
Well, like I said,
materials and
when
everything.
I saw a place today out walking and I'm like, this is getting out of control.
I'll
So
give
I
you,
could see
I'll give you
where-
the link to
Okay.
file a
All
complaint.
right, I will do that. What is that link? Just say it right now. So if there's an issue.
That's right.
If the New Hope residents have an issue,
Yeah. Okay.
I'll get you that link, Donna.
Oh, and the fencing, the
Fencing.
fencing. Can you match their fencing so it's all continuous there? I think we just make.
Same color.
I know we can't, I know, but what we can do, I think, is we can just make a condition that you put with the
To the
neighbors.
neighbor.
Yeah, on trying to match that fence if we can get it. Because you only got 18 lots and a square, right, for that, so, okay. All right. Anything else for the applicant at this time? Nothing? Okay, well,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. It's 9:43 and we're going to close the public hearing and go to council deliberations.
Mayor
Jennifer?
Chadwick, yeah, it appears that, this project, it fits in our comprehensive plan. It makes sense with the surrounding area, all of the, issues that we've been presented, can be mitigated. And so I'm comfortable with it with, a couple of conditions, though, the 10-foot, that fire access is concrete with a 10-foot pathway. And then if they want to add, I don't know what you called it, Mayor. This
Street.
grass, okay. And then to work with the neighbors on, the timing. Those are the two that I had written down. There may be others. We'll start with that. Let somebody else go from there.
And the thing that we need to make sure that we put in here is they could do the 10-foot sidewalk to Brandon on New Hope and and we'll work with ACHD on what a cash bond will look like or a bond of any sort or contribution would look like for that portion along Brandon. So I've got to make sure that that's in there.
And then the plat note for lots
And a
11
plat note, yes.
11 and 12.
Okay. Any other comments or concerns? And then also that those elevations are going to be put into the development agreement as well. So we have what those houses are going to look like
The elevations as presented.
as presented, yeah. Similar to elevations as presented, yeah. Okay? Anything else?
I have a question.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe I missed it. Weren't we here to discuss an approval for a rezone from R1 to R3?
Yeah, we're going from R1 to R3.
But that's what he's requesting.
Yeah, as part of this, yeah.
So, like I was looking at his traffic study from 2024, right? In May, it was 2,795 cars a day. In June, the same year, it went to 6,059. Now here we are 2 years later, and everybody knows that the traffic is horrible in the mornings on Beacon Light and New Hope, people trying to get to work and whatnot. So with all the traffic congestion that we have, and all the current homes that we have for sale in Star, which is 206. My question is why are we approving more density?
Because we gave them that option when they came in originally on this in their development agreement to come back and ask for that when they figured out what they were going to do.
So that was approved.
That was in the development agreement that we set back in 2024, whenever we did this, or 2022, whenever we did this. It's built in the development agreement. They could come back and ask for the higher density on there because there was no idea what they were going to do. The folks that own the property basically annexed it and zoned it to get it on the market and split it. So they, like she was talking about, for her retirement on there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with the zoning, right?
No, it does, because we went with the zone, because they didn't know what they wanted to do. They weren't developing it, they just annexed it and zoned it.
Okay.
And we gave them the option to go to an R3 on our,
okay.
in our development agreement.
Okay.
And as you look at these lots, there's 18 lots or 21 lots. They're bigger lots than the ones that are in Hope Springs, just to their
Yeah.
west. So you're gaining open space even as you come back.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciated the fact that the lots are 8,000 to 15,000. My question is the rezoning.
And that's why, because we gave them that option back in the day to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just thinking on that traffic jump from one month to the next.
Mr. Mayor, I can address that. What Councilmember Day is referring to is the ACHD report.
Yeah.
It actually states that the average daily traffic count for Brandon Road was 2795 on May 16th. The average daily traffic count for New Hope was 6,056. So
Yeah. So my calculation from then to today, based on these calculations, it's 78,000.
It's not 78,000.
Well, it's gone up. I mean, do the math. If it's gone up 3,000 in 1 month.
No, but what he's referring to is
No,
one,
but-
Brandon has one
no,
traffic.
Brandon Road.
New
was
Hope has a different
27.
traffic count.
New Hope was the 6,000.
Okay.
So
What is it now?
So they're talking about two different roads. They're given the counts for two different roads there, since that's the intersection.
So, well, it's still a lot. It's a lot more traffic.
Well,
You
from
cannot-
other developments, from
Yeah.
Canyon County, all that stuff that's coming down that way, right?
I don't know if
From folks up in,
Middleton uses New.
oh, they do.
they?
Yeah, they do.
Beacon Light. Well, we need to fix that then.
You need to fix that. You need to
Fix that. We need
put a wall.
something.
And they'll pay for it.
Put a toll bridge in.
But what is,
Well, now that you mention it.
what's the, trying to find it, the peak volume per house? I mean, 18 houses on there versus basically 10, what was approved total for the whole thing. 8 more houses with, is it 2.9 something trips?
I was
there?
anticipating people coming here saying, hey, we'd rather see 1 house per acre than 3.
Oh.
And then more of it taken up with common area. But the lot sizes are good, so you can't argue that.
No. Okay. Any further deliberations, motions?
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple additional conditions to consider.
You got a what?
A couple of additional conditions to
Okay.
consider. Sorry, I'm mumbling. Work with the neighbors to match fencing. And if you're going to accept the bond for the sidewalk, then we need to modify the existing development agreement with Ms. Dill to recognize that, because that specifically says it's either constructed by the applicant or ACHD doesn't give a bonding allowance. So we can just fix it. Ms. Dill can re-sign it and then we'll be good.
Okay.
To go.
And then the plat note on 11 and 12? You got that, right? Huh? Oh, I know. We talked about the other ones too. I thought you were just
Yeah, so we got the plat note regarding the private road access, amenities per the exhibit, bond for the sidewalk on Brandon, a 10-foot concrete sidewalk with the option of the grasscrete.
Well, not an option with the grass
Well,
screen on the
but
side.
it's up to the fire district on what they want to require, but the option
On
of
the
having
edges.
that. Modify the existing development agreement, work with the neighbors on the matching fence, and adopt the building elevations as submitted.
You guys got anything else on that?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
found myself in agreement with Councilwoman Salmonson that this application complies with our comprehensive plan and unified development code and with the conditions of approval that we've just discussed. I move that we approve this application.
Okay, we got a motion.
Second that.
We have a motion by Councilman Nielsen, a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. I'm going to jump down to item 6D real quick. I want you guys to table that indefinitely. We're going to make them repost that site because we don't know when they're going to be ready to come back. So if we could have somebody make a motion. to
Mayor,
table-
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone the
Table.
item D, Hippo Veterinarian Group Conditional Use Permit, CUP 26-02, indefinitely.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion by Councilman Wheelock, second by Councilman Day. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. We'll move on to item 6C, the municipal code amendments that we tabled are continued until today. On the residential rental ordinance and the unlawful sign ordinance. And it was requested that you guys take a deep dive into those two ordinances so we could have further discussion with Councilman Nielsen on these things and make a decision. Did you want to go into it, Sean?
Just want to state, Mr. Mayor and Council, that I did provide all of you with paper copies of both of Council Member Nielsen's briefings on those two ordinances, as well as Councilwoman Salmonson's red lines on the sign ordinance.
Okay, so should we start, which one do you want to start with, Councilman Nielsen?
Mayor Chadwick.
Yes, sir.
So we can start with the sign ordinance. And, you know, I will say, having reviewed Councilwoman Salmonson's red line, I think we're pretty well aligned with what I kind of put in an addendum. You'll see that the addendum starts on, I guess, the third page in the little, or second page, whatever, in the little packet, summary brief. I guess with one caveat, you know, and Councilwoman Salmonson could talk more about it, but she put in there that rather than having the signs be notated with the responsible party and the authorizing party, that just the responsible party would be notated. And I'd like to, you know, we can have a discussion around that, but you know, if somebody has authorization for placing a sign, they have the information that would be required to put that on there. And I think that helps with code enforcement or anybody who's looking to make sure that a sign is authorized to be placed where it is. That information's right there. They don't have to, you know, call the city or try to call an HOA or anybody like that. So that would be the only thing that I would recommend that would be different in what Councilwoman Salmonson proposed.
Okay, any further discussion on that?
Mayor Chadwick?
Councilwoman?
So, yeah, originally I took that piece out because I was concerned about the burden that it would add onto the owner. But, you know, again, like going back to, so are you okay with changing the title of it to this, to thinking of it more as really like the temporary advertising signs?
Yes, I am. And,
Okay.
you know, so one of the things that I've written in here, number 1 of the addendum, the ordinance should clearly state that it applies only to unauthorized signs, temporary signs, portable signs, off-premise signs, and mobile advertising signs, and signs placed without required permission. So I don't know that putting temporary, I think everything in my mind is temporary that this applies to. So
Yeah, yeah. And then I also had in there where, like say event signs. So I think in my version, I had something where it pulled back the event sign and because so I just want to make sure that we're really targeting, it's the landscaping, you know, that are from out of town. It's we mow the yards. I have diabetic supplies, you know, selling that, and I haven't seen those here, but it's probably just a matter of time. And so that we're not unintentionally hurting those like businesses or nonprofits that are trying to promote their events. And they should, and more than like they're not putting them legally there anyways, hopefully. But
well, yeah. So I mean, the premise of the ordinance can't really determine, we can't say what's on the sign. So calling it an event sign versus another kind of sign, I think is contrary to other existing laws. The purpose is that whether you have an event or you're a nonprofit, it doesn't matter, you know, compared to a for-profit or non-event. The question is, are you just sticking your signs around town on other people's property without authorization? And that's the problem that I'm trying to address in this ordinance. So if you have an event and you've got a permit, you should be able to place your sign within that event area according to whatever that permit allows you to do. But otherwise, you can't just go put it on somebody's property.
right, and they have to approve it, right? So anyone else have comments?
Comments on that? Councilman Wheelock?
Yep, just waiting for you guys to work through your ups and downs. The reality for me is too many ways for the sign to be addressed. I think that's you've addressed that as to who's responsible for the sign to have to put your information on it. I'm all for that. You get into the weeds a little bit to me if you're saying this sign's for a nonprofit or a profit or whatever. How long does it take to get a sign permit would be a question I would have. Like, say I want to have an event. What's the turnaround time? Is it something I just walk into the city hall and say, here's $14?
There's no permit required.
If you're saying there's a permit for a sign, a temporary
isn't.
permit,
No.
Well, there is.
I heard that was one of what we were talking.
You go online, you can apply for a temporary permit
For a sign?
for a sign.
That's not
for
in this
events.
that's not in this ordinance.
Right, and that's where, well, yeah. So Sean, do you want to talk about what's currently in code? No.
This
So,
ordinance
ultimately, though, I think that it's a code enforcement problem.
Well, I think that's one reason you should probably not have the temporary in the title, because we do allow businesses to pull temporary signs, which they'd obviously have to have permission from the property owner, which is either themselves or the HOA, to place those signs on the property on a temporary basis. So I think that's the difference between the illegal signs and a temporary sign. Is that correct, Councilmember Nielsen? I'm looking at you since this is your ordinance.
Well,
Your intent is not.
looking at her because temporary is her
Yeah.
addition.
that
Right,
was
and
my-
that's why I'm saying, I think that's why you don't want to have temporary in the title or anywhere else, because we do allow for temporary signs with a permit.
But I want to be clear that what we're talking about here tonight does not create any regulatory or licensing burden. Like, there's no permit that we're creating additionally in this.
Correct. This is separate from our temporary sign permits that we currently have in code.
I think you're just trying to simply have them get permission to put the signs up where they're located.
Get permission to put your sign where you want to put it. And if you don't get permission, then code enforcement and city employees can take it down. That's what this boils down to. And how do we know if something has been placed with permission? The authorizing ordinance or the authorization of the property owner is on there along with the responsible party.
So what would the authorizing ordinance be?
Well, like ITD and ACHD may have ordinances that allow certain things to be placed within their right of way. And if you are placing your sign according to those rules, then you would put the authorization, that ordinance.
I guess when I originally read your proposal, that it could apply to all signs. So it includes like A-frame signs that people put out in front of their business. And then, okay, now they have to put their own, like I'm approving my, and put my phone number on there, whatever, all that stuff. And so it would also include, well, posters were on there.
Yeah, I think that was a really good contribution to the conversation brought up last time. And, I didn't bring forward a new ordinance here tonight, but I brought forward this addendum that I think addresses that in number 2, the revised definition of the sign. And I think that, you did a good job of that in your red line as well. Like, I think either way we could go, but I guess what I'd propose tonight is that we authorize staff to take your red line and the recommendations in the addendum and produce a final draft that we could then have a vote on.
I want to go back to the authorizing property owner. And puts puts a burden on people you can't print one-off signs very easily.
Right. And that includes like feather flags. So other things that you couldn't necessarily write on, but that would have to be printed, from a supplier and all that, and it's expensive.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
So would it be
I
like-
guess that would reduce the number of those feather flags.
Yeah.
Well, if you're putting it on your own property, then you don't have to worry about it, right?
Well, that's not how I read it. It seemed like all signs had to have it, no matter where they're at. But is that incorrect? Am I missing something? So if you,
No, you might be onto something because maybe that needs to be a point of clarification, but like, I'd put a sign up on my own property and I wouldn't put anything other than what I want. But if
we
I'm going
also
to go
have,
put a sign up on somebody else's property, then I'm going to ask permission.
right, okay. But then we already have things in our code that require, a feather flag, say, it's that. Technically, we have things in our code now that restrict businesses from having them up for too long, don't we? That's a temporary sign. They're supposed to get approval. I think they might,
We do, we just don't enforce it.
yeah.
Let me ask the question. Does the council want businesses, and I'm going to pick on, is it Richmond Homes or Redmond Homes, something like that? Do we want that company to just go put signs up in our city parks and on HOA property all through
Right.
town?
I would totally, yes, no, I don't think so. So I guess I just want to make sure we're fixing the right problem. We're fixing the problem we're trying to solve, right?
Yeah.
And not making more problems for unintentional consequences, for
Right.
our current businesses. Yeah.
Yeah.
In my understanding, Kevin, the thing you just highlighted, we already have an ordinance that takes care of that. If it's a public property, we have the right to take them down anyway.
But not the ones that say, new homes, swimming pool, pergola, area,
Well, it
you
depends
know,
on where they
On
put
city
them.
property, we absolutely do.
but they're on their common area.
On
along
city
the-
property is what he said.
Yes.
I said both. Yeah.
On their property, I have no problem with it.
Putting it on their own property, yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine, but they're
That's
not
all I said.
putting it on other people's property.
But that's between them and whoever that landowner is,
Mr. Mayor,
in my opinion.
Is it Chris?
just a clarification question, probably for Councilman Nielsen. Is this intended to be targeted towards off-premises signs? Like off the owners, like for instance, you've got a sign in front of Ridley's that says Ridley's. We probably aren't checking to see, wait a minute, who owns this sign?
That's correct.
But if you've got a home builder who's just stuck a sign out in front of Ridley's property that says, my subdivisions down here, that's an off-premises sign as I am interpreting it in my mind. And that's the one we want to say, okay, wait a minute, who authorized that sign? If you go look at it in the back and it says Ridley's, it's like, oh, okay. Ridley's authorized the sign to be here. If it doesn't, then we say the sign's illegal. Is that what we're targeting here? 'Cause I think we're getting caught up in temporary signs and that might have a permit and these other signs that
That's a
really
good way
are-
to distill it, yeah. And also to provide for code enforcement and for penalties for those who abuse it. We
Yeah.
have a lot of abusers.
'Cause
I
as
don't think it's
interpreting
just
it, if you've got-
between the private property owner and whoever placed the sign, because it's basically just graffiti all over our town. We just don't call it that because it's a sign, but it's the same net effect. Somebody goes with a spray can and paints a fence, they put their sign up without authorization. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just wondering if maybe we target this more towards like an off-premises sign, because it doesn't matter if it's temporary, permanent. I mean, using your definitions, right? Temporary, permanent display, banner, flag, placard, poster.
So
If they're all to advertise that business, like it's on my property, it's my grand opening sign.
here's the recommended definition I provided today. Unauthorized sign is the term. Means a temporary, portable, mobile, off-premise, trailer-mounted, vehicle-mounted, banner, flag, placard, poster, or similar display placed on public property, right-of-way, or private property without required authorization, consent, or legal permission.
Would we assume permission if it's a sign advertising the property that it's on? Does that make sense? I don't know if that question made sense. Like if a Ridley's sign on Ridley's property, do we assume that that's
Yes.
approved? We're not going to wonder.
That would be
Ridley's.
premise, and the
Yeah.
definition I just read says off-premise.
Yeah, and I was just clarifying that off-premise applies to like all of the other categories of sign that you described.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So then if Ridley's said they wanted to go put a sign up down the road somewhere else, then how would they go about doing that? So then they would say they have, I don't know,
Well, let's say they wanted to put it at the Merc.
It's a billboard.
maybe not the Merc.
Well, no, any
Okay,
place,
all right,
pick
all
a
right.
place
Okay, the Merc is fine.
at the Merc.
Okay.
So they go to the Merc and they say, can we place a sign there? The Merc says no, but Ridley's places it there anyway.
Uh-huh. Well, can't the Merc just
Mhm.
out of their own
They could
right
take it off.
take it off?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
But is this going to force us to have our code enforcement look at every single sign that's out there? That's the challenge that I'm looking at here.
What I hope it, and look, if you guys have a better idea, let's go for it. Okay, but what I'd like to see is that we have something that lets our code enforcement officer go enforce the problems that we have in town, and then pretty much it just goes away.
Well, I'm already going to be submitting one about that street, that sidewalk. So you want me to throw in some signage, too? Signage complaints?
Mr. Mayor.
So, I mean,
Well,
maybe,
code enforcement can't go to a private property right now and remove a sign, but if you see an offender that's
Oh.
putting them all over town, then they
then-
can.
are you worried that that a code enforcement, so they get in a complaint that Ridley's has their sign at the Merc, the public say gets a complaint. And so the code enforcement would go to take down that sign, but they have no proof that that they weren't authorized to put that sign there.
That's
That-
why the responsible party and the authorizing party are notated, whether it's a sticker or whatever.
Right.
So what's the penalty for lying? I'm just curious because anybody can stick a sticker on there saying it's valid.
Yeah,
And we
so
just
that's my
leave it.
only hesitation about, like, I totally agree with the problem and I would be willing to like say, yes, let's go for it. But I just am worried about those unintentional consequences that we might be putting on.
On somebody who wants to put a sign that's not on their property?
Okay, yeah, so,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah,
can I ask a quick question to Councilman Nielsen?
Yep.
So, and maybe for Chris or all of you too. So, one of the biggest offenders of signs we have, I agree with you, is the right-of-way signs. They're everywhere. ITD and ACHD both have requirements that say they do not and will not approve temporary signage in their right-of-ways. It's very clearly outlined, and it says that their staff may remove the signs and hold them for 10 days before they're disposed of. So my question is then, if we enact this, which I'm not against, if we enact this, do we as a city have the permission and the ability to go on to the right-of-way, which is technically not ours, to do anything to the sign? And I don't know if we do or not. I'm asking that question. So we're putting it out there that they can't be in the right of way. ITD and ACHD are already saying they will not approve it in the right of way. Can we enforce this since it's not our property?
As I read the ordinance, there's different mechanisms for enforcement penalties. First, violations, repeat violations, or fines. And, second or subsequent violations within a 12-month period can be misdemeanor. But it does say that the enforcement authority is to either issue citations or remove unauthorized signs. It may be that on somebody else's right of way, we don't remove it, we just fine. But if it's on our property, or if it's in, other property around town where they're saying, hey, this is a code violation, then we have the authority to, remove in some sort. So we have both, right? And so I think that helps. And this may just be something we have in theory, if you can have a phone call with ITD or ACHD and say, hey, what do you guys want us to do? They may be totally fine with us pulling the signs. But we just want to make sure that we're, cooperating. But we have the authority in the ordinance as Kevin's drafted it to either fine or remove or remove. Could be both.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? Motions, emotions? On the signs?
Mr. Mayor,
Who married me?
ah,
Oh,
the chief.
chief.
Yes. I'd just like to point out that it's going to be difficult to enforce that without a complaint from a private citizen or from the owner of the right of way, the controller of the right of way to actually specifically tell us that sign's not supposed to be there.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
Sean, I would love your input.
You don't want my input. I think what we're talking about, the majority of these signs are going to be in the right of way. They're going to be garage sale signs. They're going to be for sale signs. They're going to be, you just missed Hubble's subdivision turnaround and come back. I mean, they're all going to be most likely in the right of way. So I agree. I hate them. I wish we could do something about them, but.
So I'm going to go back to chief real quick and ask a question. On the enforcement part, is this similar then to where a peace officer's peace can't be disturbed? That's why a police officer cannot.
I'm looking at this more along the lines of trespassing. If a property owner or someone who controls a property doesn't have an issue with something being present, then we don't have a victim. The way we typically get around that with trespassing is we just get blanket authorization from them. If ITD or ACHD wanted to come out and say, we don't authorize any signs, then that makes our job really easy. Or perhaps if it was on, say, private HOA property, if the HOA wanted to give us the authorization to go and remove signs, that's easy to do. But until that happens, we have two options, is to ignore the sign or to contact the property owner and confirm that they do indeed want that sign removed. And then we would have a crime that we could act upon.
Chief, could ITD or ACHD give us a blanket authorization?
They can, if you produce a letter that they can sign, and we do that with trespassing now, we do that with HOAs on a regular basis, where we just get a representative of that HOA to sign a document giving us the legal authority to go in and enforce that law on their property on their behalf.
Like almost like parking in the right.
Like parking, or like the most common one in this part of Ada County is fishing at HOA ponds. They'll sign a form that allows us to go in and trespass people for them without talking to them first.
And you would need that for each property owner or each right-of-way area? How's that work?
I think they could give us something, and I would check with legal, but I think they could give us something that covers their right of way through the city of Star. So it's not an insurmountable problem. We can take care of this. There's just an added layer there before the police can act, because we don't really have authority on private property without the property owner's permission. I mean, aside from, crimes in our presence or a felony, but something like that is essentially trespassing. If someone left trash on that private property, it would fall under the trespassing code. Well, we need a property owner to tell us this is trespassing.
Would it be different for Idaho Power?
Same thing.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing. And we can also contact them and confirm, but having that authorization makes this really easy. Otherwise, we go and talk to each individual person. But I mean, most people, I think, don't want those signs there. It's just an issue with our ability to act upon private property, right? Because at some point you'll come across the person who does want the sign.
It's probably the person in the HOA that put it on there. So do you need an ordinance like what Kevin has right here to help with that?
The ordinance will help. An ordinance is always going to help
Right.
because it gives us the legal backing on behalf of the city to go and take care of a problem. But it's similar to if someone put a political sign in their front yard. We don't have the legal authority to take that sign away. They're allowed to do. They have a First Amendment right to speak. Conceivably, there could be someone out there that tells a developer, yes, you can put a sign on my yard. And if we just go by the ordinance and take the sign away, we've taken property without permission. On the other hand, if the person says to us, I didn't authorize that sign, that person committed a crime, and I'm willing to sign a citation saying they did it, then we can handle that.
Okay.
And Mayor, and I think that's the helpful part of the ordinance is by having the name of the authorizer on that sign, is it actually gives, whether it's city code enforcement or whoever, somebody to call and say, is this sign authorized? And if they're lying, that person's going to say, I don't know what you're talking about, or no, I didn't authorize that sign. We may just get complaints like Chief's talking about that says there's a sign in my yard, I didn't want it there. And they'll sign the citation. But I think that part too, with requiring that authorized person on there, I think helps also. I think it's a quicker path to get to whether or not it's actually an illegal sign or an unwanted sign. That helps the city, I think, kind of in the enforcement process, because we can talk to that person and find out if they're willing to sign a citation or whatever they want to do.
Mr. Mayor, I think where this would help a lot is if, say, an HOA called and said there's a bunch of signs on our property that just appeared overnight. Well, now there is a code that has teeth behind it, and we can enforce that code. But we would still need some sort of authorization, whether it's a yearly blanket authorization, like a trespassing letter or a phone call, before we can walk on the private property and act on the city's behalf.
Okay, so I look at putting this, I mean, you simply say you just got to put a sticker on the sign that says who's authorized it, and you don't have to have it printed on the sign, right?
The proposed ordinance doesn't say it's printed. It just says that it exists and it's legible and it's in contrasting. So it's not like blue printed on blue, right?
Yeah.
So sticker, magic marker, whatever works.
Okay.
I have another question, Chief.
Yes.
So would you annually have to get that, letters, whatever? And would you keep a file on who has and who hasn't approved that?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Wheelock, generally, when we get those letters, it lasts 1 year. And I think if I was going to produce the letter, I'd make it very similar to what we already use for trespassing with HOAs or private businesses. But we tend to renew it every year because opinions change and goals change. I can't think of a reason off the top of my head we could make it permanent, but I think people are also going to be unlikely to sign a permanent order that they can't rescind.
Yeah, fire levy's been tough enough.
But generally, we do it every year. That would be a little unwieldy across an entire city. So we might be able to come up with something that makes that more streamlined and maybe they rescind it with an email or a letter. But it would be a lot easier if we had authorization from a property owner to go and do this.
You know, I don't think there's that many that this would apply to. That primarily HOAs, the backup to arterial roads. So there might be a dozen, you know, that would deal with that in town, and then a couple of agencies.
Yes, to reiterate, I don't think this is a problem that kills the ordinance. It's just something that we need to keep in mind.
Well, basically, the ordinance here would help if we get the letter from those agencies to, in order to enforce the ordinance, you gotta got the letter from the agencies in order to make it happen. That's how I'm reading.
And it gives us something to reach out when we see problems. We can
Well, like-
reach out to the HOA and say, hey, we're seeing this problem. If you want us to address it, then, you know, this is what we need.
And the intent of this is not to penalize the landowner who puts his own sign on his yard or on his business,
Right.
right, on there, so.
So can I bring up a scenario then? What about, let's use Toontown as an example. So Toontown, all those signs that are out in Toontown are on HOA property. And I guarantee they're not authorized by the HOA. We're going to be going after those individual business signs? Because that's what this, that's what
Unless
this
the HOA
ordinance,
gives you a letter otherwise.
that's what this ordinance is suggesting.
Potentially that could, but the HOA is allowing it today. Right.
Right, but they'd be in violation of this new ordinance if it goes into effect.
Potentially, or they can go to the HOA and,
Right.
which they're all members of. So they could all just, I don't know, they could go to the HOA and get the authorization. But do we really want to enable people to put signs on property that they're not authorized to?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't
No,
think we should,
don't.
but that's what they're doing.
So I don't care whether it's a Toontown or
Okay.
a Floating Feather, right? It's the same thing.
But they might, yeah. Okay.
Find out from each individual business in Toontown if they got authorization.
You just go from the HOA.
Yeah.
And I don't,
And there's 3 different HOAs in there.
I don't envision that we suddenly have a massive crackdown across the city. There's a few problems, right? But like we don't need to hire a special officer to be the sign officer.
That's the way it's feeling.
Well, you can read into it whatever you want, but
Just telling you how it feels.
well, are you authorized or are you not authorized? And if that feels oppressive, maybe we should talk to the people that were putting unauthorized signs on their property about how they feel.
Just unauthorized signage.
Okay,
Okay, what's the next step?
so the next step is you make a decision on if you want to move this through to get it into ordinance format.
So Kevin, you looked at my changes and I think I'm good with taking out the temporary part and, how do you want to move forward? 'Cause
I
think
would,
you
I
have
would
some
love,
changes-
as a third vote in this, sorry, Jennifer.
Yeah.
As a third vote in this, or fourth, or whatever it looks like, I would love to see this streamlined altogether with the red lines and the green lines and all the lines simplified into one shot.
Well, I anticipated that folks wouldn't have really read through it very much. And so that's why
I read through 3 different versions of it.
that's why I put the addendum together.
And and the version I looked at online last was different than the one I'm looking at in front of me right now.
Yeah.
So to say I haven't read through it is not accurate.
I said that I anticipated that what's before you isn't the ordinance, it's a summary brief with an addendum, right? And so, when we met in the workshop, we talked about having city staff take these ideas and come back with a prepared ordinance for us to vote on. So I'd like to propose that that's what we do.
So which version are we going to talk about? Yours or Jennifer?
Well, there's an original version. Jennifer's made some suggestions. We've got an addendum and we've got conversation here tonight, and we all can count all on one hand. And that's impressive. There's
There's a lot of versions. I mean, we beat this horse to death.
So
Yeah.
but which one do we
Which
want?
one's
I guess,
right?
what do we want to take? I guess you're going to need to make a motion about how this is going to go to the staff. How you want them to handle that.
Sean, do you want me to come back with a
Please.
version for you?
An ordinance, written in ordinance format?
Yep.
I mean, at one point you said to use this in
I
our
said
conversation,
that Jennifer's red line is
except for one point,
is compatible with the addendum that I provided,
except for one item.
except for that one item. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, so then could you just take mine and scratch out or add in the
I think we've come up with some other
other
points of
thing- yeah,
clarification.
I
here
agree.
tonight that-
I agree.
That warrant some additional work on it. And look, this is not to be this is not unexpected. Like, we're supposed to work these things out and talk through them. I anticipated that's what the workshop did. But we obviously had a lot more work to do here, and I think we've made good progress tonight.
So Cal, I'm just going to do one more thing for you though. So do you want, are you going to take this piece?
Yes,
and
I'm going to
this
take
piece?
what Jennifer provided. I'm going to take my addendum and the conversation here tonight, Chief's input, Ryan's input,
And combine it together.
and come back with, and then Sean and I are going to make sure that we both think that we've met the mark on this, and we'll come back with something we can vote on.
And so then we could vote on it. We could vote on it, but the ordinance, does it need to be published? Like,
No, it's active. It's active right now because
It is
we
active.
keep tabling it.
so
we'll-
whatever
we'll-
ordinance we come.
We'll just
back with-
table it to the next meeting, which is
Okay,
when you're
all
going
right,
to have
that's
the
what I
rest
wanted
of the
to make sure.
ordinance, and then we'll just.
So then so you will have the ordinance then, Kevin, with all the combat feedback for the next meeting to be voted on then.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah, Mayor, so we need to make sure we do table the
Okay.
public hearing so that we can have an additional conversation in 2 weeks without having to renotice and republish. So
Right.
it's out almost 6
You
weeks.
want to make that motion for the next meeting there, Kevin?
Well,
Just for this piece.
the agenda item includes both here
But
tonight.
I think we could break it out, can't we?
Okay,
Yeah, you can do two separate, you can do a motion for each ordinance if you'd like.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Mayor, I move that we table this until the next public meeting. We'll come back with the final version for a vote.
Just clarify, just say the sign ordinance.
For yes, for the sign ordinance.
Okay. Until 7/21/26.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Tolmanson,
I
Nielsen.
Aye.
Yeah, that motion carries. All right, let's move on to the next piece of this, the rental registration and single-family rental community discussion. Then you had an addenda in this one too. And I did provide, well, here, we don't have very many people in the audience, so I can hand you. Oh, this thing right here that I gave you? Oh, okay, all right. Kevin, you want to chat about this one, about your addendas?
Yeah, so the addendum seeks to address the items that were brought up in the last public hearing. Number one, the effect of exempting owners with fewer than 10 rental units from participating in the registry. Also got a title in there, the effect on individual owners with 10 or more scattered rental units. And then a clarification regarding short-term rentals, Airbnb and VRBO. I think there was a concern that this ordinance was trying to regulate those. And in several places is, states that it is not. So just some information around that. So
So you're recommending not to do, you're recommending everything then? Is that how I'm reading this? That's how I'm taking that when I'm reading it.
So there was a suggestion that we would exempt people who have fewer than 10 rental units from participating in the rental registry. So I'll just read paragraph 2. Under this approach, the registry would primarily function as a large operator tracking and compliance tool. Owners or related entities controlling 10 or more single-family rental units would still be subject to the large single-family rental operator license requirement, including disclosure of properties under common ownership or control, local contact requirements, and compliance with the applicable health, safety, and property maintenance standards. So the trade-off is that the city would have less complete rental housing data. A universal registry helps the city identify rental concentrations, maintain emergency contact information, support code enforcement, and determine when an owner or development crosses the threshold into large operator or single-family rental community status. Exempting owners below 10 units would reduce that visibility and could make threshold enforcement more dependent on self-reporting, title research, complaints, or other indirect sources of information.
Okay. So to go to his discussion on this, 63% of the rentals we have in the city of Star have 10 or less units.
Yep.
Just so you're aware. So that's what this document is right here. We got the number of rental units we have in the city of Star. 430, and the way this reads is and that gray line up above, that's the number of rental units. And you've noticed it goes from 21 to 346. Because 346 is American Homes for Rent, AMH, that they own 346 units here in the community of Star. But there's 437 of them that are single owners, 57 units that are have 2 units, 25 of them have 3 units, 14 have 4 units, 5 individuals or companies have 5 units, 3 individuals or companies have 6, and so forth. And so if you look at 10 and under, that's 63% approximately of our units are owned by people that have 10 or less units. So to go to his discussion, I understand what we're trying to do with that. I don't know if there's a threshold in there that some that have concerns with it on a certain number.
Well, that's why the ordinance calls for it to be extremely non-invasive and inexpensive, even free to register.
But your goal, the goal is to provide, the purpose and intent is to support neighborhood stability and transparency that hasn't changed, gather accurate data for emergency contact and planning, maintain compliance with fair housing and property rights laws, differentiate, I can't even say that, differentiate between small scale rentals and institutional rental portfolios, ensure that large rental communities provide infrastructure amenities similar to multifamily products, right?
Right.
That's your goal. And so basically we need to do an ordinance, lay it out in an ordinance format on how we want to do this. And I would suggest utilizing some of the data that we provided with that on there so we can have a discussion on that. I mean, obviously we don't have an ordinance here right now on that, right?
Well, yeah, we do.
Where's it at? Oh,
I didn't print the ordinance. I've printed an addendum to the summary.
That's the original ordinance and changed then.
The original ordinance hasn't changed.
Okay, I just want to make sure because discussion?
A long discussion, isn't it?
Yep.
No.
What's the number we're gonna land on?
Well, that's the discussion.
Oh, I know. I mean, what's the
His
consensus?
His goal is to have everything. I know that some don't want everything on there. There's so that's what you need to discuss
Yeah.
on that. What does that look like? Do you start somewhere and then do you come back and make adjustments if you find that you need to make adjustments? You know?
Why would we exempt? Let's start there. Why? Why do we need to exempt anybody from it?
Well, I guess what's the penalty if they don't do this? If they don't register it.
Penalty is register.
But I mean, there's Trying to see what at the
There-
end of that. Violations.
There's no consequences if you don't. Is that what's in there?
There is
There
a large
is-
single family rental operator, but if you're the,
So if you're,
One.
this is where I'm
Yeah.
like, if you're an individual that decides that they are moving to another community and they don't understand this ordinance and rent out their house and we're going to charge them $100.
no, we're just going to ask them to register it.
Oh, first violation with the 3-year period. An infraction punishable by a fine up to the maximum amount allowed under Idaho code. Second violation with a 3-year period is a fine not less than $100. And third or more in a 3-year period is $250. So what does Idaho code say right there?
I
Kevin,
looked at-
on that
I
first
was-
one.
I would try to look it up and I was struggling. Maybe Chris, you know the answer to that? Or maybe Kevin, do you know?
What's the,
I should ask you.
I didn't look that up. I put that in there as an option, which is 0 to whatever that might be. Like, let the facts of the situation determine.
I'm not sure I understand exactly what the question, are you questioning whether the fines are the right numbers or whether it's,
Legal to have a number. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, it seems like you're going to enforce it, right? So if doesn't matter how many houses they have. If they don't register, what is the penalty?
It's first violation within 3-year period is an infraction punishable by a fine up to the maximum amount allowed under Idaho code 18113. That's what I'm gonna look up here.
Yep.
Unless you know, off the top of your head.
Actually, I had it open. So from what I saw, it was the law 8 punishment for infraction. Every offense is declared to be an infraction. It's punishable only by penalty not exceeding $300 as provided in this section and no imprisonment. Penalty for an infraction shall be number 1, the amount set by statute. Number 2, subject to subsection of this section. Yeah.
So if we don't set a statute,
No, if 1, 2, and 3 do not, it's $15.50. So that's where I'm a little confused and I needed guidance from Chris.
If it depends on if this ordinance is written as an infraction or a misdemeanor.
Well, it's written as an infraction,
And then it's $300 per violation.
but I guess, so I think we need to spell out what the penalty is or else we need to know what it is, right? Because or is it 1550? Okay.
well, section 3 of 18113 capital A, it's the amount set by city or county ordinance. Right? And so in this ordinance, it's setting the amount at $100 or $250. You're setting the amount.
But we're not setting the amount. It's not, or we should, I
Yep.
think.
no, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, to me,
It's not in
what
there
I'm
now,
reading
right? Amount isn't in there now.
in 2-6, pull up
Yeah.
2-6-10. Yeah, of this
It
ordinance.
doesn't mean that you have to make 437 people suddenly pay a fine. I mean, what if it's, you don't have to write the ticket for the infraction.
Right, it's like a warning.
You can just say, hey, did you know that
There,
you need to
thank you.
register?
A couple more, see the full penalty.
I mean, We choose how we administer these things, right?
You go down.
We do, but does the next administration have the same opinion? It's my concern, some of my concern.
Yeah. That's a good concern.
But also we wanted, we're making a law to make a law.
Every
we
law
don't
has
wanna-
ever been made was intended to be good and some are getting to
Mhm.
be less good.
Yep.
Like, why have a law though if we're not gonna enforce it? And promote it?
Well, but there's a penalty portion of this, and that means who is writing the ticket.
But
Gotta-
want
I
to change the
gotta
penalty
think this
portion?
through. Huh?
We can change the penalty portion.
No, no, I'm just trying to figure out who, if we do go down that route, who is going to be issuing that ticket?
Is that the code enforcement
city?
guy?
If it's, Mr. Mayor, if it's going to be an infraction and go through the criminal system, then it would be written by a deputy.
Oh. Okay, an infraction. Okay, got it.
That's why I think we leave it to major operators only. That's some of my concern. If you have a deputy show up, it ought to be for something that is not just ma and pa rental.
Okay, I guess the other challenge is how do we get them the ticket, even if you're going to write them a ticket? If they don't live here, how do you serve that?
Sometimes the way we handle that is by process we call writing and routing, which means we write the report and send it to the PA's office and let them initiate the criminal process. So if we can't cite a person, we can report it to the prosecutor saying we believe this crime has occurred, and then the prosecutor will follow up.
Do you think they will follow us doing this?
Traditionally, we sometimes have issues with the prosecuting attorney enforcing city codes. But they might, depending on workload.
Chief, how would this look differently if it was only a civil penalty rather than a criminal penalty?
If it was a civil penalty, then our code enforcement could serve. Or perhaps the city could write a letter to the registered owner saying, hey, this is the issue, you need to fix it.
And here's the fine.
Yes.
Well, if we change that language on that, more of a city civil side, then it would make more sense.
Yeah.
Or you could leave it as a more enforceable, serious thing with a large operator. And I would support that more than does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. Yeah, I look,
Because you're not going to get the attention of a large corporation for $20.
you've seen how many pages there are in that ordinance.
A ton.
And I can't think of everything
Yeah.
all the way through.
I thought that's why we're coming here to talk about it.
That's right. So I think it's a great idea to adjust that penalty part. And because it's not in my intent at all to create suddenly deputies showing up at everybody who owns a rental house in Star. Like that's not the vision here at all.
Well, if someday Trump gets his way, there won't be any more corporate rental stuff.
Oh, I'm not banking on that.
Again, those administrations change.
So we need to revisit the penalty section of this and maybe define it more.
I think going for the civil route makes a lot of sense and maybe addressing, separately those with fewer than 10 versus those with more than 10. So there's, a different class of penalty.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I'd even say those with fewer than 10, the penalty is you just get registered unless you refuse, and then, maybe it ratchets up from there, but keep it civil.
That could be your first violation.
Yeah.
That's what Neil said, is that the first violation is you have to register, right? If it's a second violation, because they still haven't done it, then maybe that civil fine kicks in, and then you have a third violation. And you may even want to consider potentially, if you've got, even if it's an individual owner, but if they're a chronic, like they're at their fourth or fifth time that they aren't registering a house or something, then maybe it does kick in the criminal side, like we're talking about doing with the, the bigger operators. But if you've got someone that's just total chronic violator, we've seen that in some other codes, where it starts out civil but becomes criminal if it's, extensive or repeated. Because sometimes, there occasionally are people who just are like, I don't care. They're gonna
Right.
get dog license. I'm just not going to do it. At some point, you're like, all right, now it's going to be serious. So then the deputy does show up at their house.
Who's the one complaining about whether there's a rental or not a rental? Who is I guess to use Chief's words earlier, who's the victim here?
This isn't born out of people complaining about rentals in particular. what it is a systemic problem that's growing in our communities of housing not being available because of corporate purchases and corporate rental operations.
I get that. And that's why I think great, let's have large operators monitored.
Well,
And that's why I think above that is a different answer.
so if we look at the fourth paragraph of the addendum, a sub 10 exemption may also create an incentive for some owners to remain just below the reporting threshold or to divide ownership among related entities. The proposed ordinance partly addresses this issue by using common ownership or control language, including related entities under common management. However, enforcement of that standard may be more difficult if smaller portfolios are not registered at all. And to me, this is why this falls apart if we have exemptions for registration. I think when you build the loophole in, you might as well not have the ordinance, is kind of how I look at it. And so if we can make registering so painless and simple that it's no big deal for the little guy to do it, then we've got the data. We can watch as things grow, and we've just established that if things go beyond 10, then we know about it. But if we've got that loophole out there, then things can stay under that radar forever, and we may as well not. It creates more of a compliance burden, I think, on city staff, because now they got to check all kinds of things.
And for me, if they stay sub 10, that increases the value of exactly what you're trying to do is change from large ownership pools, right?
No, the same large owner, just now with created subsidiaries and entities that keep it sub 10. It's still the large owner. They're just gaming the system.
Mayor, one way I look at this is the city requires dog licenses currently, correct? We don't have a provision in the code that says you only have to have your dog's license if you have 5 dogs or 10 dogs. We have everybody license their dog. And I think if the city's going to go this path of licensing rentals, it's the same. I think it's kind of the same process. You have to be registered. It's not a license, it's registration, but we want everybody to register. And it's not a matter of whether it's one person or if you have 1 house or 10 houses or 346 houses. We want it registered. And then our enforcement might vary depending on whether you're sub 10 or more than 10 or more than 10 and more than 50% or whatever it is. But I think if the city is going to require registration, it probably needs to be wholesale rather than just, we picked kind of an arbitrary number and decided that if you're below that, we don't care what you're doing, but as soon as you hit that, you have to, because I do agree with Councilman Nielsen that whatever that number is, whether it's 5, 10, 20, or 50, people are going to say, well, I'll do what I can do to stay below that. And then and so I think if you're going to do the ordinance, you have to go 100% rather than do the ordinance only go 50% or something else, because then I think it does kind of create a loophole. But it's worth the city, thinking about. But I think it's got to be kind of an all or none, not a let's do it halfway.
And here's another thought in that. Is it all or none in one subdivision? Does that make sense? If you try to avoid subdivisions from being owned by one entity.
Yeah, so that's a good question. This second bolded item, the effect on individual owners with 10 or more scattered rental units. Basically, the 10-unit threshold puts them in the category of a large single-family rental operator, which has its own set of rules compared to the single-family rental community, which would mean that they were all in one community. So, I guess it does contemplate that scenario. So you could have them scattered around and still be a large rental operator. but not have the large, which is more of a rental control versus the single-family rental community, which is more of a zoning control. The zoning combined with the rental control.
I want to make a suggestion that obviously we table this. I want to take a stab at it because I have some ideas here that I wrote down and write it up and get it to Sean to get it out to everybody.
Work with me on it.
Yeah, I will.
And then next time, if we have like an addendum or whatever, if we could get that in advance.
Time to study it with one goal so that it's not modified or.
I anticipated there would be communication between you guys and Sean and me. That's what we talked about at the last meeting. And when that didn't happen, this was.
Okay.
So we'll work on it. You and I will work on it and with Sean and Chris and get it out to everybody ahead of time.
Yeah.
All right. I got some ideas. I wrote them down, Kevin.
Okay.
Okay. You want to make a motion on that one?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
Move to table the residential rental registration and single-family rental community ordinance until our next meeting,
Which is July
July 21st.
21st. We got a motion. We got a second.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Nielsen.
I
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the action items down here. We got to pull up the resolution, Sean, for me for the Heron River Zone 1 Parking District. I will tell you the ACHD has put out the no parking signs in those areas that were required. They still are making the custom Zone 1 Parking District signs to put in the neighborhood. So hopefully here in the next week, we'll see that. Our city clerk's office got all of the parking hangers sent out this week. I think they started receiving them today. Oh, yesterday, certified mail. They started receiving them today, and we've had some questions that they have been able to answer. So that is in full, that's moving forward, but we need to do this resolution since we approved it last month. Someone want to approve make a motion to approve the resolution?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
I'll move to approve resolution number 2026-03, the Heron River Parkstone Zone 1 Parking District.
How about read that top black
Oh, sorry,
line?
a resolution of the city of Star, Idaho within Ada and Canyon counties adopting the Heron River Parkstone Subdivision Parking District.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. All right, Sean, will you pull up the warranty deed on the next one, please? Item 7B. Does it say right here? Oh, no, that's not it right there. Okay, what this, can you scroll down on that? I think it's got the map on this down here on the bottom. What this is right here is, we purchased that property on Pollard for the police substation, and this is the warranty deed for us to give them the easement for the ACHD right of way. They're on the front of the property. And I need you guys to authorize me to sign this and send it back to them. And then you're going to get another one later for the next acre that the school district is working up the documents on for me later.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
I move that we authorize you to sign this agreement with the ACHD right of way.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Nielsen, a second by Councilwoman Solomon. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Solomon, Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. We'll get that signed and sent back. Thank you. On the item 7C, I need you guys to approve our 2026, 2027 proposed budget publication. This is going off of our two council workshops that we've had on the budget. proposed budget overall is 25,251,410, which is less than last year. With the property tax levy of 2388564. Any questions? We need a motion to approve the publication.
So
It
we're,
doesn't approve it. You're just approving that
we're
it's going
approving
into
that
the
it's
paper.
publishing.
Yes. The budget hearing is on August 4th, where you'll officially approve it. We can't go any higher than that amount. You can go lower.
So we're publishing $750,000 less than last year. Is that correct?
Correct. Or
Ish?
more.
Give or-
No,
give or
yeah,
take.
yeah, a little more than that. About 1.2.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean.
That's what you meant. It's a little late. on the
Late.
math. So someone make a motion to approve the publication of the proposed budget for our hearing on August 4th.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Wheelock,
I would make a motion that we approve this budget for
not the budget, the
The
publication. of the budget.
publication of this budget as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Wheelock, a second by Councilman Day. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Day,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
That motion carries. And Miss Kelly, thank you for sitting in for Miss Shelley. This is her first one, and it was a long one. Miss Shelley is in Africa doing a mission trip, just so you're all aware. So, yeah, so good for her on that. It is 10:58, and amen, we are done. Thank you.